was recorded, the young girl pictured in the video would be dead. So this story is incredibly tragic and happened in March of 2024. This is Manvi, a girl from the Punjab region in India. In March of this year, Manvi was celebrating her 10th birthday, and her family pre-ordered a cake from a local place called Cake Kanha. So as you can see at the beginning of this clip, they ended up eating the cake for Manvi's birthday, and they all seemed to be enjoying it. But shortly after eating the cake, Manvi and her sister started violently throwing up.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If we have any brand new viewers to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. Let me break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man, commenting down below, and most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video I drop. I really appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Yeah, I know what we do. I seek the truth.
This is the scariest truth about hell I bet you didn't know. You see, when Jesus returns and sets up the holy city, Jerusalem, and when we get our heavenly bodies, and when we're reunited with our families and loved ones in eternity, did you know that hell would be open for all to see? Don't believe me? Read for yourself. Verse 24, the Lord says, as they go out, they will see the dead bodies of those who have rebelled against me, for the worms that devour them will never die, and the fire that burns them will never go out. All who pass by will view them in utter horror. There's a reason you're watching this video. Hell was not made for you. Jesus is coming back, and he gave his life for you so you don't have to go there. Like and comment below. Wow. Follow and subscribe for more.
Updating our knowledge base. That's what we do every single day.
Public school system's failing, and this is proof. Why do we forget about Gibbons? Y'all know about gorillas, chimps but a different R rating, and this guy. Gibbons got left behind and left off the great apes lunch table. Not this time. I said this for gorillas, but Gibbons are really a whole walking comedy special without even trying. They're famous for the way they get from A to B, and there's actually a term for this. It's called brachiating. It sure does. It also means they have the most out-of-pocket wingspan nature's ever seen. It was a good thing they're still alive, because finding a fossil that could jump rope its own skeleton, that Jumanji jump would have put us in another pandemic. There's about 20 strains of this arms longer than a prohibition tree goblin seasoning the earth, including the white-cheeked gibbon, which definitely isn't venom. Apparently, out of all the apes, they're the only ones that mate for life. Including us. That's right, the throat squirrel. Well, it's basically a built-in megaphone meant to amplify their calls. Why do they call? Well, some have a door, some have a gate, but gibbons, nah, they mark territory off straight. Basically, they use it to announce the borders of their turf, and you can hear it a mile out. In fact, gibbon couples will sing duets throughout the day, and sometimes they'll even bring the kids to make it a family matter. Also, if you're curious, for these ones, they're all born golden to, blend in, but they all turn black when they're 6 months old. The males stay that way, but the females revert back to gold when they're older. So you can go back. They're silly, whimsical, tiger bullying branch merchants with more reach than Go-Go Gadget that could, let's be real, probably rip your arm off if they really wanted to. They may not be grade A's, but they are to me.
The Boulder police now have a complete DNA profile of the killer. It's actually been in the national database since 2008. JonBenét Ramsey's father was just interviewed by Ashley Flowers. The interview was super long, but here's everything you need to know. There's so many updates to this case. The DNA was found in her panty. It contains both her blood and the saliva of an unknown male. This has been used to exclude her father from being a suspect. I'm just here to tell you what happened in the interview. You can still think what you want. This also excludes people who made false confessions, but this shows us that it wasn't just from random sources like factory workers or innocent people. Even though this DNA has been compared to hundreds and thousands of people in this national database, they have not found a match yet. So whoever did it is still unidentified. The reason why this DNA evidence is so important to the case is because it finally put the rumors to rest that her family was involved in this case, because they tested the family's DNA and it didn't match this unknown man's DNA that was mixed in with her blood that was the unknown man's saliva. There's a lot to cover in this though, so I'm gonna make another part. It's already up. Go check it out and hit the plus for more if you like this stuff.
How's that person still unknown, bro? People can't get away with acts like that.
A teenager who felt like Dexter lured a 13-year-old girl into the woods before essaying her and taking her life, all to fulfill his fantasy. 13-year-old Milana Li was found dead in a creek in Washington County, Oregon on May 10th of 2022. Li's mother reported her disappearance the day before, sparking a massive search, and they didn't have to look very far as she was found under a mile from her home and school. Her death was ruled a homicide, and authorities discovered through cell phone data and security footage that she was last seen with Daniel Gore, who was 16 years old at the time. Gore was tracked down the same day and found at a local library and made a run for it, but was caught after a 20-minute chase. They also discovered Gore's tent that he was living in not far from Li's body, and inside they discovered a journal detailing his love for violence. In it, he said he felt like Dexter, and he also carved symbols on nearby trees. He also tried concocting an alibi by stealing her phone, texting a handful of his friends, and repeatedly claiming that him and Li parted ways at a bus stop. But surveillance video from the bus stop showed the two walked off together towards Gore's hideout in the woods. They also found photos of violent essay on Gore's phone and realized that he essayed her and then took her life. Gore, who is now 18 years old, was tried as an adult and was convicted in less than 90 minutes on all 4 counts during the 2-week trial. He was emotionless the entire time and didn't testify. He was charged with all of this and will serve a mandatory minimum of life in prison with the possibility of parole in 30 years, and his sentencing will be on December 2nd. Rest in peace to Milana Li, and as always, I'll keep you guys updated.
He was mixing, man, fiction and fantasy, bro. Those... No, real life and fantasy, bro. Those don't mix, man. Dexter is a freaking show. You can't obviously do those acts that in the real world, bro. And he completely, if you can miss the point of Dexter would never even do something like that. That's a whole completely different conversation, man.
As an animal nerd, I love this video because it murks the 2 birds I've been throwing stones at for a minute. Cows are proof that animals are only as vegetarian as their options. There was one time a cow in Australia was caught slurping a python like it was a crunchy fruit roll-up. Really took a whole sand python to their mouth and sucked the skin off that snake. Calm down. They also chew on kangaroo carcasses, but the point is, a lot of the animals you think are herbivores tend to get all kinds of creative when they're dealing with some kind of deficiency. It's why giraffes eat bones, why deer pack up poultry, and why hippos... Nah, that's just hippos. The other thing is, that's not just a snake, but a cobra, as in a kind that can spit venom, and they're scientifically proven to go for the face. But the thing is, venom's expensive to make, at least physically. Snakes don't want to use it unless you convince them that they have to. I think it's something like half of all the bites from venomous snakes are actually dry, and for some species that could be up to 80. What's my point? My point is, with a predator, it could be a snake, a shark, or a bear. You gotta convince them you're worth the effort, energy, or poison they take to cancel you. Most of the time, they're not even checking for you. The other point is, just because it runs on grass don't mean it won't make you part of the past. Fun fact, by the numbers, this is one of the deadliest animals in Australia. And next to it's a snake. The more you know.
A woman allegedly kept her baby hidden from everyone by hiding her under a drawer under her bed from the time she was born until she was 3 years old when someone found her. This is so heartbreaking. This poor child could not even crawl at 3 years old, and she was so severely underdeveloped. This happened in England. The baby was discovered in February of 2023, and this is how the baby was discovered. Apparently, a partner of the mother's who was not allowed upstairs in the house had came back to the house to use the bathroom. I'm assuming no one was in the house at the time, but when he went inside the house, he heard a sound coming from upstairs that sounded like a baby crying. So he followed the noise, and it led him to a bedroom, and the noise was coming from underneath of the bed. He pulled out this drawer, and inside was a 3-year-old child. He runs out of the home and went and told his mother what he had just saw, and immediately the police were called. Social workers and police arrived on the scene, and according to a social worker, she said it was one of the saddest things that she had ever seen. She was in shock. She said that she went up to the bedroom with the mother of the baby. She said, "Is this where you keep the baby?" And the mother replied, "Yes, in that drawer," and she allegedly said that no one else knew about her. The mother, who has not been identified, told authorities that she was in an abusive relationship and she did not want to tell the child's father that she was pregnant. A medical examiner examined the child and found that the child could not crawl, could not walk, could not talk, and was making like soothing sounds, like repetitive and rocking back and forth. Her hair was matted, she was severely malnourished, she was dehydrated, she had a cleft lip that had not been treated, and her mother allegedly was feeding her through a syringe. When the baby was found, she was 35 months old, and her mental capacity and physical capacity and everything that she could do was equivalent to a 10-month-old. Within 2 weeks of the baby girl being in the hospital, she did start to vocalize. She was crying when she needed things. She also did have surgery on her lip, but there are other surgeries required. On November 26th, the mother was sentenced to 7 years and 6 months in prison.
Just a few hours after this video was recorded, the young girl pictured in the video would be dead. So this story is incredibly tragic and happened in March of 2024. This is Manvi, a girl from the Punjab region in India. In March of this year, Manvi was celebrating her 10th birthday, and her family pre-ordered a cake from a local place called Cake Kanha. So as you can see at the beginning of this clip, they ended up eating the cake for Manvi's birthday, and they all seemed to be enjoying it. But shortly after eating the cake, Manvi and her sister started violently throwing up. After they had vomited for a while, Manvi then started to complain of a dry throat. She was very thirsty and tired, and she went to bed. Sadly though, Manvi's condition grew worse and worse throughout the night, and in the morning when her parents decided to rush her to the hospital, it was too late, and she was declared dead shortly after arrival. This is the cake in question. Now, according to reports I found online, sections of this cake were sent in to investigators to be tested. The family believes that this was a food poisoning case, and that somehow the bakery had included a toxic or poisonous substance inside of the cake, but I couldn't find any further information about what ended up happening. But it's clear, with Manvi and her sister growing violently ill, the entire family got ill after consuming this cake, that it was related to this baked good. If you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to the podcast Murder in America that I co-host with my wife Courtney. It's available on all streaming platforms.
Man, you gotta even watch the freaking birthday cakes now, man. What is the world coming to? You can't even eat a freaking birthday cake without it being messed with.
Without ever meeting in person. 29-year-old Daisy Link and 24-year-old Joanne DeBuzz are facing separate murder charges and are staying at the same prison. While they were both awaiting trial, they began communicating with each other through the air conditioning vents in their cells. Despite the unusual circumstances, they formed a close bond. During one of these air vent conversations, Joanne told Daisy that he always had a desire to have a child, but since he was incarcerated, this may never happen. He then told Daisy that if he ever had the choice, he would choose her to be the mother of his child. Before long, the two had developed a plan to conceive. They came up with this plan that they were going to use the same air vent system that they used to communicate. Over the course of a month, Joanne would carefully wrap his in plastic wrap about 5 times a day and roll it just like a cigarette. He would put it through the air vent system, and once it reached Daisy's cell, she would carefully take it out. Once it reached Daisy, she used an applicator to insert the fluid inside of her body. After a few attempts, Daisy found out she was pregnant. In December of 2023, Daisy called her family with the great news that she was pregnant, and she told them that she had originally asked staff for a pregnancy test back in November, but they were ignoring her request until December. On June 19th of this year, Daisy gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and now that baby girl lives with Daisy's mother. Jail officials were initially concerned about how Daisy got pregnant. They thought maybe she got SA'd by one of the inmates or staff members, but once they did a DNA test, it did confirm that Joanne was the father of the baby. Daisy stated that she was surprised that this plan even worked, but felt like everything happens for a reason. After the incident, the two ended up becoming separated, but they do communicate through phone calls and video chats with their daughter.
This teacher, known as the Camel Toe teacher, was just arrested for having a relationship with a 16-year-old student. The teen's father was also arrested for knowing about the relationship and failing to report it to authorities. This woman's name is Haley Clifton Carmack. They arrested her charged with SA of a student, 4th degree endangerment of a child, and 2nd degree SA. She was arrested in Garden Ridge, so she's about to be extradited back to Missouri. She was listed as a math teacher in Lackey High School in Lackey, Missouri. They also investigated the text messages between her and the student as well. There were a lot of messages. It's more than likely she knew she was in hot water and left the state for Texas. Police got a tip about her leaving to Texas, so that's how they found her. This happened a while ago too, back in January. I'm not sure what kind of sentencing she'll get. My guess, maybe like 5 or 10 years. But a lot of people are questioning why the father was arrested, but he knew what was going on. Many are saying he's probably just proud of the son and brushed it off. And others are questioning how she got the nickname Camel Toe Teacher. Let me know what you guys think about this story.
How many people are...
Yeah, that's actually the interesting part. Yeah, Camel Toe Teacher, that already throwing up red flags already. Having a nickname like that going around. School still hired her. And that don't even get me started on the dad, man. Just fed his son to the wolves. We gotta be aware.
Are needed to execute an inmate on death row? Well, it varies from state to state, but in North Carolina, 12 people, all part of the execution team, are present. The team includes 1 physician, 2 registered nurses, 2 EMTs or paramedics, and 7 correctional officers. The physician's role is to monitor the inmate's breathing and heart function. They must notify the warden immediately if the patient has any undue suffering or pain. The role of the registered nurses is to supervise the administration of the lethal injection drugs and supervise the insertion of the IV. The role of the EMT or paramedic is to insert the IV and place the EKG leads. The roles of the correctional officers differ. One is called the executioner, who actually administers the lethal injection. 1 or 2 of the guards are in charge of transporting the inmate from his cell to the death chamber, and the remaining officers are in charge of security. Little challenge question for you. If there are 5 healthcare professionals, one of whom is a doctor, in the room, why do you think a correctional officer is the person in charge of administering the lethal injection?
I think it's because isn't like a doctor's oath is like they can't do no harm to a patient. I think that's my best guess, man. That they took an oath you can't do no harm to a person, so the other guy, well, the correctional officer, has to administer that shot. I couldn't be a part of something like that, man. Imagine being around that every single day. Tough job. Very tough job.
To a crocodile because of his disability. 6-year-old Vinod lived in India with his parents Ravi and Savitri Kumar. His mother worked as a house helper and his father worked as a construction worker. Vinod's parents would often fight about his disability, and his father would taunt his mother about giving birth to a deaf son. His father would go as far as telling his mother to just get rid of him. One night in May of this year, Savitri was getting tired of her husband's daily taunting and arguing about her son, so she knew she needed to do something. It was around midnight and Vinod was asleep, so she carried her son and threw him into a waste canal, and this was a crocodile-infested river. When Savitri returned home, her mother's senses returned and she realized what she just did. She started screaming that she threw her son into the river. Neighbors heard her scream, so they went over to help her to go look for Vinod, and they alerted the police. Police arrived at the river. It was nighttime, so it was very hard to see if Vinod was somewhere in the water, so they decided they were going to check the next day. The following day, they found the deceased body of Vinod, and it was inside of a crocodile mouth. Vinod suffered from serious bite wounds, and he was missing one of his arms from the crocodile. Ravi and Savitri were both arrested for murder and are awaiting trial.
William Moult disappeared off the face of the earth for 22 years, and he was only found because of a Google Earth discovery 22 years later. In November of 1997, William Moult was at a Florida nightclub enjoying some drinks. He decided to pack up and go home to his girlfriend. However, that night, William would never make it home, and his girlfriend began to panic because he was not one to have erratic behaviors, and he was also not one to be late to anything. His family and his girlfriend hadn't heard from him for hours, so they called the police and filed a missing persons report. His car, which was a white Saturn, could also be found nowhere. It had no leads or anything like that, and the case went cold for 22 years. There would be no leads until 2019, when a random resident in the area was messing with Google Earth and found the image of a car in a pond. The resident decided to call the police to have them investigate, and when they pulled the body out, it was confirmed to be William Moult in there. They took a look back at the plans in 1997 when he died, and there was no residential homes around this area. However, the irrigation pond had been built and there was no lights. So they suspected he accidentally crashed into this pond because of no lighting. Then he was unable to escape his car. It's crazy how something as simple as Google Earth can crack a 22-year-old cold case. This gave closure for William's family and his girlfriend. Originally, it was thought something really bad happened to him on the way home. Maybe somebody took his life or he took his own life. But Google Earth solved this case. Let me know your thoughts.
What is one true crime case that you just can't stop thinking about?
Google Earth.
I always wonder what really happened to 6-year-old Catherine Corzilius. On August 7th, 1996, Catherine, along with her mom Nancy and her brother Chris, were out running errands. Catherine's dad was Paul Corzilius, who at the time was the tour manager for John Bon Jovi. That day was Paul's birthday, so they were all out looking for a present for him. They all lived on Elder Circle, which is a small neighborhood near Austin, Texas. When they got back to Elder Circle, Catherine wanted to pick up the mail from the community mailbox and then walk home. The mailboxes were only about 1/8 of a mile from their home, and Catherine had done this a few times before, so her mom let her. Catherine would take the shorter route home, while her mom and brother would take the longer route around Elder Circle. This way, they would be getting home at almost the same time. But once Nancy and Chris got home with still no sign of Catherine, Nancy sent Chris to go and look for her. But when Chris couldn't find her, Nancy started searching for her by car. Within minutes, they found her laying in the middle of the road on Elder Circle. She was unconscious but still breathing. According to Nancy, she didn't want to make her daughter lay on the hot pavement, so she picked her up and took her to the hospital. Little Catherine suffered from a fractured skull and never regained consciousness, and sadly, she died later that day. Authorities initially thought that Catherine was a victim of a hit and run, but certain things didn't add up. Where Catherine's body was found was in an unusual spot. Her mom last saw her walking towards their house, but her body was found a little over a mile away from their home in the opposite direction that she was supposed to have gone. Catherine's body was actually found along the route that her mom and brother took to get home, and the autopsy only deepened the mystery. The autopsy showed that Catherine didn't die from a hit and run. Along with her head injury, she also had abrasions on her left shoulder, lower back, right hip, and her knees. The ME found that Catherine had either jumped, fallen, or was thrown from a moving vehicle. One theory investigators came up with was that Catherine maybe tried to hold on to the back of her mom's car on the drive home, but fell off. This would explain the location of where her body was found. But her family did not believe this, so they hired a PI. The PI noted that it was a really hot summer day, and at the time, Catherine's left thumb was broken and in a splint, so it would have been really difficult for her to hold on to anything. And it's likely her mom would have seen her in the rearview mirror. Catherine's family believes she was abducted and murdered. After her death, investigators brought in a canine unit that tracked her scent to a vacant lot 30 yards from the mailboxes, but it was lost after that. This sparked a theory that Catherine was approached by an attacker at the mailboxes, ran into the lot, was caught and thrown into a car, struck in the head, and then was thrown out of the vehicle where she was found. Nancy also stated that it appeared her daughter's body was laid out for her to find. Her hair was smoothed down, her clothes were straight, and her sandals were still on. Unfortunately, there's never been any answers in this case, and it's still labeled a suspicious death. Jon Bon Jovi wrote a song dedicated to Catherine called August 7, 415. And sadly, in March of 2020, Catherine's brother Chris, who grew up to be a police officer, was tragically killed in a car accident.
Man. I need justice for that family.
Imagine growing up knowing that you were adopted, and 60 years later, when you take an ancestry DNA test, you find out that your birth mom was the victim of one of the most notorious cold cases in American history. Richard Hanchett was born in 1958 in Michigan, and he was immediately given up for adoption by his birth mother. In 2018, Richard, who still lived in Texas, decided to take an ancestry DNA test, and he was immediately matched with relatives from his birth mother's family. He connected with them and even went down to Tennessee to finally meet them. And that's when Richard learned that his birth mother, Ruth Marie Terry, had been missing since the early 70s. For decades, her family searched for her, but they were unable to find her, until 2022. In October of this year, the FBI and Massachusetts State Police announced that nearly 50 years later, they had finally identified the victim of the oldest unsolved homicide case in Massachusetts, the Lady of the Dunes. And the Lady of the Dunes was identified as Ruth Marie Terry. On July 26, 1974, a little girl was hiking with her family when she came across the body of a mutilated woman. Her hands were missing. Police believe this was in an attempt to get rid of her fingerprints so they couldn't identify her, and her head was nearly severed. Detectives searched motels and rooming houses and even reviewed thousands of missing persons cases from Massachusetts. They also used clay models to recreate what the Lady of the Dunes might have looked like. Her case unfortunately went cold, and some even speculated that she was the victim of the South Boston gangster Whitey Bulger. In 2000, authorities had her body exhumed to extract DNA, but it wasn't until recently that they were able to use genealogy testing to identify her. This is the same technique that was used to identify the Golden State Killer. Now flash forward to November of this year, authorities announced that they had a new development in the investigation. They had now identified the Lady of the Dunes. Now they had to identify who her killer was. Authorities revealed they were seeking information on a man who was already deceased. This man was known as Guy Rockwell Moldavan. Guy was an antique dealer, and he was actually arrested in 1960 in connection to the disappearance of his former wife and her daughter. Remains believed to be theirs were found in their Seattle home. He only served a suspended sentence, so he actually got released in 1962. Now, court records indicate that Guy and Ruth actually got married in Reno, Nevada in February of 1974, just months before she was killed. Now that they have her identity, this case is being treated as a homicide investigation by the Massachusetts State Police and FBI.
It should.
The public is actually being asked to review Terry's Seeking Information poster. This includes newly released photos and a little bit more information. This case is still ongoing.
This girl got caught digging a hole in the backyard to bury her newborn in just hours after she gave birth to him.
What?
I'm going to give you a trigger warning because the details of this are pretty messed up. Her name's Leticia Rodriguez. She's 17 years old from Marietta, Georgia, and she was arrested on Sunday after she got caught digging the hole by her uncle. According to the report, she gave birth to the baby without anybody's help in the early hours of Sunday morning at her home. After the baby was born, she allegedly ended his life, and I'll tell you how. And then she wrapped him up in a blanket and put him into a grocery bag. Then about 6 hours later, she decided to go out next to this big tree and start digging a hole. Her uncle came out and caught her doing it and called authorities, and when they arrived, they found the deceased infant at the property. Now, she was originally charged with concealing a death, abusing a dead body, and abandoning or throwing away a dead body, but they announced on Friday that she has more charges. An officer said that the baby was very clearly injured, so when they started questioning her, she actually talked. So look, a previous arrest warrant outlining the earlier charges indicated the mother admitted to police that she had used a sharp knife to remove the umbilical cord from the newborn's neck after birth, causing a large laceration on the infant, but that is not the worst part. The mom also allegedly admitted to using a pocket knife to cut out the deceased infant's heart. I had to read over that part like 5 times because I was like, there's no way in hell I'm reading that right. But yeah, that's what she did. The latest warrant accused the teen of causing the death of the infant, which led to the felony murder charge. She was also charged with felony aggravated assault with a weapon. Now, Leticia and her family were originally from Guatemala, but they had moved into that home about 2 years prior. And when neighbors spoke to the police, they weren't able to give them a lot of answers because apparently they never even noticed a teenage girl was living there. She was sent to the hospital to receive postpartum care, but when she's released from there, she's going straight to jail. Police say the investigation is ongoing and she might receive additional charges after the medical examiner determines the exact cause of the baby's death. And I just want to remind everybody of safe havens. You can take your new baby to a hospital, fire station, police department, and hand your baby over without any questions asked. Or if you want to remain anonymous, several of those types of locations have baby boxes where you can just put your healthy, living baby into the box, walk away, and that's that.
You won't believe what he did. In 2022, Noah Ney shot a 5-year-old girl in the neck and shoulder in Oklahoma. This teen, who I swear looks like a 9-year-old, was riding in a stolen car and purposely shot inside a home where the little girl was playing. But again, this was no accident. No one did this for a gang initiation. Luckily, the little girl survived, but had the bullet hit a spot an inch away, she would have definitely died. Noah was arrested, but not long after, he escaped the juvenile detention center by jumping a fence. He was found 4 days later, but when he was put back into the detention center, he repeatedly assaulted staff. Noah was sentenced as an adult, but the judge said that in 2028, his sentence can be reduced if he's proved that he's changed.
Imagine getting stood up for a day and it causes you to become a key part of a murder trial. It was 2012 in Kentucky and Shaina Hubers was 21 years old. She had just graduated from the University of Kentucky and was dating 29-year-old Ryan Poston. Ryan was an attorney and the pair was said to be very toxic. They've been together for about 1.5 years but were very on and off. On the night of October the 12th, things would end for good. Those close to Ryan knew he wasn't happy. He tried ending things with Shaina multiple times, but she refused to accept this. She would turn up to his house, refuse to leave, and they would end up getting back together.
Toxic.
On the 12th of October, the pair were having food at Ryan's parents' house, and they would end up in another argument. Ryan decided to end things once and for all, and to prove to Shaina that he was over her, he decided to go on a date with another woman the next night. The woman was the stunning Audrey Bolt, who was the current Miss Ohio. Audrey and Ryan had arranged to go to a bar the night after at 9:30 p.m. Audrey was really looking forward to it and was very confused when he never showed up. Meanwhile, Shaina had turned up to Ryan's house again without warning. After another massive argument, she took one of his guns and shot him 6 times. She then decided to call police to confess. Now, while she was being interviewed by police, she was acting incredibly bizarre. She twirled around the room and sang, "I did it, yeah, I killed him." She also sang Amazing Grace. Shaina tried to claim that she acted in self-defense, but she was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 40 years in prison. Audrey had to testify in the murder trial. However, in August 2016, Shaina was actually granted a new trial. This was because it was revealed that one of the original jurors was actually a felon. She was again found guilty though in her retrial and was sentenced to life.
The baby-faced...
Man, that's just a sign. If you guys ain't a toxic relationship, man, just try to end it all because it can turn to something even worse, man.
Gangster that shot a little girl in the neck has been jailed for 50 years after a court heard that he knows the difference between right and wrong, but has no amenability to treatment. Noah Nay was sentenced as an adult for the 2022 shooting that saw the teen drive a stolen car and fire a gun towards the house in which the little girl was playing, hitting her in the neck and shoulder. It has been reported that his actions were part of the requirements for a gang initiation.
An American couple married for 75 years. They had one wish in common, a wish that shocked everyone. Jeanette, 96, and Alexander, 95. They started dating at the age of 8, were officially married in 1940, and live in San Diego, Calif. They have 5 sons and daughters and 16 grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Some time ago, Alexander suffered an accidental fall that fractured his hip, and he was confined to his bed at home. He used a special bed. It was placed next to his wife Janet's bed. Soon after, Alexander lost interest in life and became weak. On this day, June 29th, Alexander lay in Janet's arms. The daughter informed her mother that her father had died. Janet said sadly, with tears in her eyes, "This is your wish, to pass away in my arms. I love you. Wait for me. Soon we will meet again." Surprisingly, what's on the calendar for June 29th, 75 years ago today? It was the day they were married. The next morning, their daughter found out. Her mother had also passed away peacefully. It turned out that their common wish was to pass away happily together in an embrace. Follow me. Get more true stories every day.
That is like a story that we can leave without coincidence, man. Like, that was their one true wish, and it happened like just a day after each other, man. They were together that long. That's how they wanted to go out. That's really bizarre.
Here's every character I think that's going to be in the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie. If you remember at the end of the movie, Abby ends up asking Mike, "Hey, when are we going to go back to see my friends? I want to see them." And Mike says, "You never know what's going to happen." Now, in my opinion, this movie's going to be based at least 5 to 15 years in the future. Now, hear me out. For following the plans of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 as a game, we have to go into the withered characters, because they've been untouched, unmaintenanced, and unloved for so long. We're going to be seeing withered characters in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Maybe not 15 years in the future, I may have dragged it a bit, maybe 3 to 5 years in the future. And as you guys know, all of the withered characters are a little bit more devious. And why are they more devious? Because these kids have been left alone for so long. They loved Abby, they loved hanging out with her. Yes, they wanted to kill her, but still. Withered Freddy, withered Chica, look at Bonnie, she doesn't have a face. Withered Foxy, Golden Freddy. I also think we're going to be seeing the puppet as well, aka Mike's little brother. So hear me out, I'm going to be the first one to say it. When we get a Five Nights at Freddy's 2, we are going to get withered characters. It's going to be based at least 3 to 5 years in the future. Just look at withered Bonnie. Imagine Abby pulls up, getting ready to see her friends, and all of a sudden sees Bonnie. My other theory is that they are going to be pissed. They've been left alone for way too long and miss their friend. And that is what's going to drive this next movie to be absolutely insane. Like and follow for more.
Yeah, this nightmare is real, and planes are literally flipping over when passengers get up from their seats. A flight attendant for JetBlue had to issue an emergency announcement, making everyone realize their worst nightmares had come true on the plane, with one woman leaving a grim and dark message saying she wasn't sure if she'd ever see her grandkids again. The flight attendant asked all passengers to spread out as their weight was believed to be causing the plane to flip over, telling everyone to move to the middle of the plane.
Very slowly, little by little, move towards the middle of the apron because apparently everything is like it tips out.
With a tech expert saying this was so terrifying, he described it as the plane was about to do a backflip.
It felt like the plane was about to do a backflip.
Which begs the question of how safe are these planes to begin with. Many of the passengers had rushed to the rear of the plane when deplaning, which caused this, but there's still many questions which JetBlue does not have the answers for. While no one was injured, we don't know if this is something that can happen to all planes or if it's rare.
See how this fake thug reacted to a life sentence. In 2015, Jaleel Smith Riley was arrested for his involvement in a 2013 robbery that left Aaron Martin with a bullet in his head and Portia Brooks dead. Smith Riley pled guilty to the crime and was hoping to avoid a life without parole sentence. Prior to being sentenced, he cried and begged for leniency.
Consequences, man. The fake thug, bro.
His grandfather also spoke on his behalf.
He always come by to check on me and his grandmother. He always did. He worked in the church with us all.
When the judge spoke, Riley Smith didn't like what he heard.
Court defendant serve a term of life without parole. As to count 4, the offense of attempted murder.
Check it out.
This heartless thug will die in prison.
Hey man, you have to deal with the consequences. If you wanna be about that life, you gotta know what comes with it.
One of the most disgusting shock videos on the internet explained. I'm explaining this off memory and other people's comments. There is no way I watch this video again because it's that gross. The video is 1 minute long, and as it starts, you hear a piano track over the video and you see 2 girls making out. But at around 10 seconds in, it gets absolutely sickening. One of the girls gets a glass cup and defecates in it, filling it all the way to the top. A jump cut then occurs and it shows the 2 women licking the feces in the cup like it's ice cream. It cuts again and it shows one of the girls rubbing the feces around her mouth, and the video then cuts again, and it shows the 2 girls making out with feces in their mouth and all over their faces. The next scene, one of the girls sticks her fingers down her throat trying to make herself vomit into the glass as the other girl licks it. The next scene, it shows one of the girls standing up and the other one is on her knees. The one standing up then pukes directly onto the face of the girl on her knees. The final scene shows both girls completely covered in feces as it's even overflowing their mouths. And this is where the video finally concludes. This video is absolutely sickening, and when I tell you not to watch it, don't watch it. I know I say that for all the videos I cover, but this one isn't brutal or gory. It's just plain out disgusting, and you really just don't want to see it. You can watch reactions on YouTube of people watching this for the first time. Joe Rogan even has his reaction video up from years ago.
Hey guys, do you remember Adam Johnson, the hockey player who suffered the fatal cut to his neck in a hockey game on October the 28th? Well, the player whose skate caused the injury has actually been arrested and charged with manslaughter. This is Matt Petgrave, probably not saying that right, but he is the player whose skate caused the injury to Johnson's neck. And news out today is saying that he has been arrested and charged with the manslaughter of Adam Johnson. Now, initially, I was kind of shocked at this news. All of the footage that I saw, I did not think that it was intentional. But then, when you go back and you watch the replay in slow motion, that kind of changes things. Apparently, the hockey world and all of the hockey fans have been waiting on this to come. I'm going to add a clip in here that shows when the injury occurred during that hockey game, and you'll watch it through in regular time first, and then it will be played in slow motion, and I'm curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are. You can see it happens quickly there, but watch it in slow motion where Petgrave is in the red, he comes across and intentionally kicks that leg up, which slashes Johnson's neck and results in his death.
Here's how all of the missing children from the Five Nights at Freddy's movie passed away and became the animatronics. Well, as you guys know, little backstory, these kids ended up going to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. They all ended up disappearing in, I'm pretty sure, 1984, all because of William Afton. Wanted to run some experiments and see if he was able to combine children's souls with these animatronics. And let's just say he did his damn thing. Up first is Freddy. It is said that Freddy's original character was unalived by hiding, which kind of makes sense because you never really see Freddy doing any wild shit. I mean, you see him, but he's always kind of just like lurking or pretending to be still. Then have Foxy, said to be the soul of one of the kids that was running, hence the reason Foxy is always so fast and always running. We also have to take into the account the kid in the orange, who has Foxy's hook, and literally starts sprinting as soon as Mike gets too close. Then have Chica, who's said to have the embodiment of one of the kids that was screaming. Seems as though you always see Chica when she jump scares people in the games is she's screaming, which kind of makes sense. Then have Bonnie, who's said to be after one of the kids that fought back. He obviously didn't win. That shows why Bonnie's always so brawling. Then you have Golden Freddy, who's said to be the souls of 2 children. Which is supposed to be someone named Cassidy, but in the movie it's Mike's little brother. That's the theory. Like and follow for more.
Oh no.
Those theories are crazy.
No. I had thought that I had seen everything when it came to cults, but you are not prepared for what this cult believes. So HBO just released this documentary about the Love Is One cult, which was run by this woman, Amy Carlson, who calls herself Mother God. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but she believed she was controlled by the spirit of Robin Williams, and this like yassified version of Saint Germain.
Also, I cover a lot of dark stuff on this page, so you should follow along. She also said she could channel and get advice from this like galactic federation of dead celebrities. There's like Mr. Rogers, Carrie Fisher, Steve Irwin, and randomly Donald Trump, who is not dead. But Robin Williams is at the top, and so the cult believes they're getting a lot of advice through Robin Williams, so they'll say things like, so one of the beliefs that this cult has is that one day Robin Williams is going to arrive in a spaceship to take Mother God away so that she can spiritually ascend. He also told her that she can only be 103 pounds to get on the spaceship, which is why she's trying to lose a lot of weight. Eventually, Mother God starts getting sicker and sicker, and also bluer and bluer because of the colloidal silver supplements they won't stop giving her, and everyone thinks, oh my god, Robin Williams must be coming on a spaceship really soon to help Mother ascend. Eventually, she passes away, and guess what? Shockingly, Robin Williams does not descend in an intergalactic spaceship to come collect the 103-pound body of Mother God. And so the cult members just have her body. They don't know what to do with it. They thought Robin Williams was going to come. So they hang out with it for 12 days until the police finally show up. Anyways, this whole thing is a trip. You just gotta watch it to believe it. I'm seeing photos.
So we check that out, Seekers, man. People who be getting caught up in those groups, man, they be into some weird things. But to say that they thought Robin Williams was going to come down in a spaceship, that's just one of the most bizarre things I've ever heard watching these videos together with you guys. Be careful, man, of those groups.
Show a 13-year-old boy. Police say he murdered his mother, and before that, he's standing over her in a vulnerable position as he's getting ready to stab her to death. Derek Rosa snapped a selfie after the crime, his hands smeared with blood.
No, I'm not hurt. I just have a little bit of blood on my hand.
I need to know if your mom is breathing.
She's dead, miss.
Okay, and when did you do that?
Blood all over the floor.
Where is your sister? Your sister still there?
She's sleeping.
She's sleeping, okay.
Excuse me, miss, what do I do if she wakes up?
If you wake up, just let me know. I need to know. Do you think we can help your mom?
Miss, she's dead. I took pictures and I told my friends about it with that bag.
You told who about it?
My friends.
Who did you send the pictures to?
My friend. I don't know his real name because he is an online friend, but play with a lot.
Cell phone video shows the moment a teenage boy surrendered with his hands up.
His demeanor, he was very quiet, apologetic, very respectful. Not what you would expect walking into that home and seeing that crime scene.
The 13-year-old, identified as Derek Rosa, is currently in secure detention. When officers arrived to Unit 201 inside the Amelia Oaks apartment complex, they found the victim in her bedroom with multiple wounds, just inches from her newborn baby girl.
Next to her was a crib. And inside of that crib, a 14-day-old baby that fortunately was not injured.
Places that will disappear in your lifetime. Venice, Italy is a beautiful place, but it will disappear in your lifetime. Venice is slowly sinking.
What?
The canals cause many floods, and these floods are causing Venice to tilt east. Experts say that by 2100 the city will be uninhabitable. The Great Wall of China is amazing, but it will soon be gone. 1/3 of the wall has already been destroyed. This is mainly due to natural damage, for example climate change, but people walking on it and local settlements stealing bricks from it has also damaged the wall badly. Experts say that within decades the wall may be gone. San Francisco is an amazing city. It's known for earthquakes, but in 2016 geologists found something scary. They found 2 earthquake fault lines underneath the San Francisco Bay. This could destroy San Francisco, and there's a 75% chance this could happen before 2086. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia is one of the most amazing things in the world, but it won't be around for much longer. It's already decreased more than 50% of its original size, and lots of the vibrant coloured corals are now turning white. Some believe the Great Barrier Reef may disappear by 2030.
Damn, that's just in a couple of years. What the hell? All these places, man, that's about to disappear. I gotta see them before they go, man. The Great Wall, Venice, Italy. Hey, man, I want to travel. What the hell? I'm gonna have to put that on my list.
This is one of the worst true crime cases I ever covered, and this is a massive trigger warning. In 2007, the boy on the right named Gabriel Kuhn, who was 12 years old, was killed by Daniel Petrie, who was 16 and on the left. Daniel Petrie and Gabriel Kuhn became good friends and began playing an online role-playing game called Tibia. At one point of the game, Gabriel asked Daniel for 20,000 virtual cash to clear the stage. Gabriel borrowed money from Daniel to use in the game and then refused to pay him back. Gabriel then blocked Daniel on everything, and this made him furious, and he went to Gabriel's house to pay him a visit. A couple of days before the murder, Daniel called the home phone of Gabriel, and his mom answered. She explained that she would be out of town and that her son would be home alone if they wanted to play, completely unaware of the boys falling out. And on August 23rd, 2007, Daniel went to Gabriel's house and knocked on the door. Nobody answered, and Daniel kept knocking, but eventually Gabriel started speaking to Daniel through the door. Daniel told Gabriel to unlock the door and let him in, and if he apologized to him, everything would be fine. Believing this, Gabriel unlocked the door and let Daniel in. And after entering the house, Daniel locked the door behind him. Daniel then brutally assaulted Gabriel. Gabriel tried his best to defend himself, but he failed to do so. Daniel was older, bigger, and stronger. Gabriel was dripping in blood after being brutally beaten by Daniel. Daniel then laughed at the terrified Gabriel and took him to the bedroom, where he then sexually assaulted him. Gabriel cried, but this made Daniel even more cruel. After all of this, Gabriel threatened Daniel, saying he would tell his mother everything that happened, but this only made Daniel more mad. And in a fit of rage, Daniel took a cord from a gaming console and wrapped it around Gabriel's neck and strangled him with it until he went limp. Daniel assumed Gabriel was dead, and believing this, Daniel tried to move and hide the body in the crawlspace, leading to the bedrooms. However, the body was too heavy, and after realizing this, Daniel searched the house for sharp tools, and eventually he found a kitchen knife and a hacksaw. Daniel then returned to Gabriel's body, and in order to make it lighter, he took the knife and hacksaw and began cutting at the top of Daniel's leg to remove it, and as Daniel cut into Gabriel's leg, he woke up. Gabriel wasn't dead. He let out a blood-curdling scream, but Daniel restrained him, making sure to twist and turn the blade to make it even more painful. Eventually, Daniel dismembered his right leg and moved to his left. And after severing both of his legs, Gabriel passed away. His autopsy suggested he was still alive throughout the whole ordeal, and he eventually died from shock and blood loss. After Daniel finished the dismemberment, he tried to hide the body again, and he wrapped a cable and wire around Gabriel's body. But the body was still too heavy, and Daniel then fled the house. Gabriel's body was discovered by his brother, and the body was left by the hallway door and the legs and the hacksaw too. Daniel Petrie was admitted to a juvenile center in September 2007 to only 3 years. This is due to Brazil's laws of sentencing minors. And to make you realize how evil Daniel was, when the judge asked him if he had any last words of remorse, Daniel said this: "Gabriel was a coward and a thief. He burns in hell right now where I sent him. And when I die, I will find him in hell and finish my revenge." It's also worth saying that the photos of the crime and Gabriel's body have surfaced on the internet, and nobody knows how they got there. I highly recommend not to look at them due to the graphic nature of them, and they would definitely be the worst crime scene photos you will ever see. It's honestly insane how Daniel is walking free today. May Gabriel rest in peace.
This is the case of 19-year-old Alexi Traviso and how she went to the
needs to be
hospital
fixed.
complaining of back pain, but ended up getting charged with murder. Alexi Traviso was a 19-year-old senior in high school living in Artesia, New Mexico. She was on the varsity cheerleading team, and she was dating her boyfriend Devin for about 2 years. Honestly, Alexi just seemed like a typical teenage girl. Her prom was coming up soon, her graduation was around the corner, and she was already thinking about what university she was going to go to in the fall. January 26, 2023, that day was pretty much just like any other day for 19-year-old Alexi. She went to cheerleading practice that day and got home in the afternoon. She spent some time with her family and then she went to bed. However, she was woken up in the middle of the night with severe back pain. This was like not normal back pain. Like Alexi was in so much pain that her mother decided to take her to the hospital. Alexi and her mother Rosa arrived at the Artesia General Hospital in the early morning hours of January 27th. Alexi checked in and told the doctors that she had really bad pain in her back, so they wanted to do a test to see if maybe she had a UTI or a kidney infection, since back pain can be a symptom of both of those things. So they're getting ready to do those tests, and then they asked Alexi, "Are you pregnant?" Which is a very common thing to ask. I mean, if you're a girl and you've gone to the doctor before, I feel like they always ask you if you're pregnant. On top of that, experiencing back pain can be a symptom of pregnancy. So the doctor asked Alexi, "Are you pregnant?" And she says no, that she's still a virgin and that she hasn't engaged in any sexual activity. So the doctor's like, okay, perfect. And they send Alexi over to go get a CAT scan done so that they can check for kidney stones. While she's getting that test done, the doctors decide to still do a pregnancy test just in case, because you never know. So they did a urine test, and when the results came back, they were positive. Alexi was pregnant. Now, of course, pregnancy tests can sometimes be inaccurate, so the doctors wanted to check her blood just to make sure that she was actually pregnant. While all of this is going on, Alexi tells the doctors that she needs to go to the bathroom. Like, she has to go number 2, and it's coming out, like, right now. So she gets up from the hospital bed and she literally runs to the bathroom holding her butt because she feels like it's going to come out. She locks herself inside the bathroom and she's in there for quite some time. Doctors and the staff at the hospital are getting kind of worried because she's been in there for a while and they know that she's pregnant. So they're thinking maybe she's having some type of miscarriage or something else is happening. They knock on the door, but Alexi refuses to come out. At one point, her mother Rosa also goes over to knock on the door, but Alexi says that she's just having trouble going number 2 and that she'll be out shortly. At this point, Alexi has been in the bathroom for more than like 20 minutes. So the doctors tell her, if you don't open the door right now, we're going to unlock it. Before the doctor can unlock the door, Alexi just opens up and starts walking back to her room. One of the doctors looks inside the bathroom just to see, what happened, and they do see that there was all over the floor. They asked Alexi, what's going on? And she said that she simply got her period. Call over the cleaning lady to come clean up the bathroom, and when she starts to take out the trash, notices that the trash bag feels heavier than usual. So Leela, the housekeeper, goes to look inside the garbage bin, and when she pulls out a bag, she finds a baby. The baby was inside a clear plastic bag at the bottom of the bin. Okay, more in part 2.
Never wake up a sleepwalker.
Do you want me to wake him up?
This ain't funny though.
This girl was freaking out when her sister got out of bed and started sleepwalking.
Stop staring at me like that. Alexis! Mom! Mom!
It's like a spirit takes them over.
She's just standing here staring at me. Relax. Hey. I gotta go. Shaina.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Follow for more.
Here are some things you didn't know about farts. Deep sea divers are unable to fart due to the water pressure. The stomach cannot form any gas bubbles, so we can rest easy that nobody farted on the ocean gate and hotboxed everyone in there. This is also why the opposite is true on airplanes. The air pressure makes gas expand and then escape, so farts increase up to 30% while in the air. Herrings communicate by farting through a process called fart, which stands for fast repetitive tick. They expel bubbles out of their butt, which makes a high-pitched pop that only other herrings can hear. The Yanomami people in Venezuela and Brazil greet each other by farting. The part of the fart that makes it smell is hydrogen sulfide, which is just 1% of the average fart. You can actually measure how bad your fart really is. Researchers have developed a fart meter that is an electric sensor that can measure the level of hydrogen sulfide after you fart. Maggots have been used to help heal open wounds for centuries, and scientists have now discovered a compound in maggot farts that help kill bacteria. The average person farts 14 times a day, which comes out to about 105 billion farts worldwide every day, which adds up to about 55 billion gallons of human farts added to the atmosphere.
That's insane facts about farts. What the hell, man? Like I said, tap in with us, bro. You're gonna learn some interesting facts. I didn't even know farts. There was that many farts in the damn world.
Looking photos that have a disturbing backstory. The girl in this photo was arrested for torturing and killing animals. She filmed herself doing it and even posted it online. She hanged her dogs by their collars, nailed them to walls, and even shot them with an airsoft gun. She would then cut them open and rip out their internal organs. This sweet-looking little girl is Jeannie, also known as the Wild Child, who spent the first 13 years of her life chained to a chair, and this photo was taken moments after she'd just been rescued. This normal-looking scenic painting features the ocean with the night sky. However, it was painted by Adolf Hitler, whose dream in life was to become an artist. However, he failed the entrance exam to art school and ultimately gave up. This photo of Richard Hickok and Perry Smith shows 2 murders after hearing that they'd been sentenced to death. They murdered a family of 4 and planned to rob them, but they found nothing worth stealing except for a mere $50. The girl on the left is wearing a wire. The girl on the right has no idea. Together they stabbed one of their friends to death, and the girl on the left confessed to the police and is now cooperating with them. Besides the pixelation, this looks like a couple getting married surrounded by their loved ones. However, all the children in this photo were horribly physically and mentally abused until a couple of them managed to escape.
These are 8 horrifying facts
Crazy.
that will probably keep you up at night. In ancient Rome, soldiers used to drink fresh, warm blood to cure epilepsy. There are antidepressants that eliminate someone's ability to feel love and compassion. The Exorcist movie resulted in many of its cast dying, including 2 actors whose characters died in the movie. In 2017, an asteroid named AG-13 passed by our home planet with less than the distance of the moon. Scientists saw it coming only 2 days before it could have hit Earth. One of the most haunted dolls is Robert. It belonged to a child named Eugene in 1904. The 2 most dangerous books are called Shams al-Ma'arif and Al-Ghazali. They carry rituals for summoning demons. In ancient England, people used tops of hollowed human skulls to drink and eat. At Harvard University, there's a book bound in human skin, like for part 6.
Crazy ass facts. Especially about how they used to use human skulls, man. They eat out of them? The world back then, man.
Weird facts about the human body that I bet you didn't know. Your fingernails grow 4 times faster than your toenails. Children have more taste buds than adults do. Humans are the only animals who shed tear when they are sad. Babies are born with 300 bones, but adults have 206. Every day a human makes half a quart of spit. The smallest bone in your body is in your ear. Boys are more colorblind than girls. We already knew that. Eyelashes last 150 days. Your blood has the same amount of salt as the ocean does. The heart circulates blood through your body 1,000 times a day. A sneeze blows air out of your nose at 100 miles an hour. Did you know that you are taller in the morning than you are at night?
1 in a billion coincidences. A man in New Jersey bought a $5 bottle of orange juice back in 2018, but the moment he got home, his wife told him to go back to the store and return it because it was too expensive. He went back to the store and decided to buy 2 Powerball tickets with the refunded money. And the next day, he ended up winning the $300 million jackpot. This guy caught the exact same fish 2 months after already catching it. Harry John Patch was the last surviving soldier from World War I. He died at the age of 111 years, 1 month, 1 week, and 1 day. Tom Cruise divorced all 3 of his ex-wives the year they turned 33, and each is 11 years younger than the last. The first person to ever die during the construction of the Hoover Dam was this man named J.J. Thomas, who died on December 20th, 1922. On the same exact day, 14 years later, the last person died. And that man was J.J.'s son, Patrick.
Damn, that is like some weird coincidences, bro. You know, like how things have to line up in the universe or something to like happen like that. Especially about the thing about the Powerball, man. Like one simple like choice could like it can change the course of your life, man. Crazy to think about, Seekers.
So this murdered Texas couple's missing baby has finally been found after 42 years. And the story is crazy. Let's take a look. So in 1981, Dean Klaus, his wife Tina Lynn, and their baby Holly disappeared without a trace in East Texas. The only clue was from an anonymous caller who said that he had found Dean's car in California. And he claimed that 3 women in white robes drove it from Texas to California. Police were actually able to track down one of the women who called herself Sister Susan, and she claimed that Dean had joined a cult and renounced all earthly possessions. And she wouldn't tell them anything else. It actually wasn't until late last year that human remains found around the same time were confirmed to be Dean and Tina's. Dean had been beaten to death and Tina had been strangled. But that didn't answer what happened to Holly. This year, investigators were searching for human remains around where Dean and Tina were found. And that's when they got a genetics hit that Holly was alive and in Oklahoma. But get this, when they were talking to Holly, they found out that she had been left on the steps of a church in Arizona by none other than 3 women in white robes. Investigation is still pending, and they are really trying to figure out who these white-robed women are. But for now, at least we know that Holly is alive and well.
Facts about the human body you didn't know.
Bro.
Now I know when you're about to fall asleep, you have this weird falling sensation, right? But that's actually called a hypnic jerk. And it happens because your brain thinks you're dying, so it jerks you awake. And if you've ever sneezed super hard, consider yourself lucky that you didn't break a rib. Because yes, it's possible, and it's much easier than you think. And if you didn't know, that burning sensation you have just before throwing up is actually the acid fumes from your stomach's acid. And while we're talking about that, your stomach acid is actually so strong that it can melt through metal. But the only reason it doesn't burn through your stomach is because your stomach lining has a mucus layer protecting it. And finally, if your skin starts peeling after you've had a sunburn, consider yourself lucky, because that's just your skin cells dying to avoid becoming cancerous.
Man, I didn't know if your stomach acid was strong enough to melt through metal. The human body, learning new things about that thing.
Morbid Facts, Part 27. The Scold's Bridle was a device used to publicly humiliate women until the 19th century. On the inside, the device had a metal plate that would press down on the tongue and prevent the wearer from speaking. It was placed on women who were said to be troublesome to keep them quiet and prevent them from gossiping. In 2007, a man from Florida woke up in the middle of the night with a severe headache. After he drove to the hospital, doctors found a bullet in his head. It turned out his wife had attempted to murder him in his sleep by shooting him in the head. Ever since she was a little girl, Jewel Shuping wanted to be blind. So in 2006, she poured drain cleaner into her eyes and fully blinded herself. She says she's now happier than ever after fulfilling her lifelong wish.
What the? That has to be one of the most bizarre cases we've seen yet. Has to be like top 5. She wanted to be blind and she just did that. I couldn't imagine being like I said, thankful for my sight every day, Seekers, because that's one of my worst fears, actually. Not being able to see. Damn. She went through it with it too.
Just when I thought I heard about all the worst cults in history, this one had to come and blow them out of the water. This is Colonia Dignidad. They were a German torture cult hiding out in the Chilean wilderness after World War II, aka Yazis. And to show you how terrible they were, let me tell you a story. That's a quick reminder, if you want more info, you can check out the podcast. The leader of this cult was a known child abuser, and he wanted more Chilean boys to be brought to him. So he started a hospital in the community and used it as a trafficking system to get more children. One day, a young Chilean boy choked and was rushed to the hospital. And right when he got there, a nurse scooped him up, brought him to a room, and saved his life. But later that day, his sister arrived and asked a nurse when she could pick him up to take him home. And the nurse responded that they needed to monitor him for a few more days, which is pretty suspect in a choking case. So a few days later, she comes back and she's like, okay, can I get my brother? And the nurse tells her that he's not there anymore. And this is because the hospital had lawyers on staff that were drafting up adoption paperwork when young boys would come in. The cult was able to legally adopt boys in the community without the parents' consent, and the parents had not enough money to do anything about it. There are so many more stories about this place, and I had never heard of it before, so make sure you check out this week's episode for more info.
You don't know the dark truth behind Peppa Pig. Hello, I'm Peppa, and this is my story. I was never a healthy child. My mum struggled with addictions that started before I was born, which gave me several birth defects. I was born with both eyes on one side of my face. I couldn't walk or do almost anything for myself. My dad hated me for it. He blamed me for him never being able to do anything in his life besides taking care of me. He hid me in the house and never let me leave. He thought it was only fair that I didn't get to have a life either. He became very mentally ill after being in the house with me. For several years. One day he snapped and wanted to make me normal. He tried to make an eye hole for me on the correct side of my face. That night I passed, and he didn't tell anyone what happened. After 6 months of my brother Georgie and my mum asking what happened to me, he snapped again. He took himself and both of them to the afterlife with me.
These are random laws in the world that you probably didn't know about. In Denmark, when you have a baby, you have to name it within the 33,000 government-approved names. Meaning, you can't name your baby whatever you want. In Utah, you are not allowed to throw fecal matter at anyone. Why is it only illegal in Utah? Why? In France, it is illegal to drive without a breathalyzer in your glove box. They introduced this in 2012 in hopes of reducing the amount of drunk drivers. I love this law. They should have this literally everywhere. In Oshawa, Ontario, you can be fined up to $250 if you climb a tree without a climbing permit.
What?
$250 to climb a tree. In Russia, it is illegal to drive a dirty car. They need to be able to see your license plate. I completely agree with this one. In the UK, according to their 1986 Salmon Act, it is illegal to hold a salmon in a suspicious manner. I don't know what to...
In a sus matter? What the heck? Like I said, there's some weird laws all around the world. I didn't even know that about Denmark. You can't name your baby whatever you want. It has to be approved. That capped a fact, man. We're going to have to check up on these facts. These laws, man. They sound so ridiculous that it doesn't even sound real. But knowing how the world is today, I believe it. At it. Call them out like we see them, Seekers.
Scary facts that will make your skin crawl. BT.3. There is no one calling. It's the ghost informing you of their presence. The inventors of the Ouija board claim it got its name when they asked it what it should be called. They also asked it what Ouija meant, and it replied, "Good luck." If you're walking and you feel someone behind you, it's a ghost looking at you. The human body can feel the presence of ghosts.
These are facts that will make your skin crawl, part 1. Up first, did you know that women can actually give birth after death? It's extremely rare, but it's called coffin birth. Up next, everybody has definitely heard of the 5-second rule, and probably applied it in your life at least once. But did you know, in those 5 seconds, minor insects can still crawl on your food? After you drop it on the floor, pick it up, and then eat it. Up next, if a black cat looks at you, and then suddenly runs away, it means that something unusual is about to happen to you. So if this happened to you recently, then I recommend just staying in your room and not leaving. Finally, did you know that a cockroach can live 9 days without its head before it starves to death? This is absolutely crazy, and as weird as this sounds, I have to see it to believe it.
Me too. Like a chicken before lived like a day without its head, so maybe it's not that far-fetched. Check those out, my older videos, those older clips we saw together. You're gonna learn.
In 2021, the scientific community made a remarkable discovery. The world's first preserved dinosaur butthole that scientists describe as perfect and unique. The fossil is over 100 million years old, and at first scientists thought that it was just any other old fossil until they got a closer look and realized that the hole was incredibly well preserved. British paleobiologist Jacob Vinther had the pleasure of discovering this unique find. Scientists say that this dinosaur bum will help us determine if birds evolved from dinosaurs, and they found some interesting facts about the cloacal vent, which is the scientific name for the dinosaur butthole. They found that the hole had multiple functions, and it was used for peeing, pooping, breeding, and egg laying. And the vent is also so well preserved that they can even see 2 small bulges inside, which may be a scent gland used during mating process. The booty fossil belongs to the Psittacosaurus, which looks kind of like a Triceratops, but is the size of about a Labrador Retriever, which really just wants me to have a pet dinosaur the size of a dog. Like, how awesome would that be? Oh, and the cherry on top is they even found fossilized dinosaur poop stuck inside. If you like dinosaur booty, follow.
Facts that you probably didn't know until now. A lot of us are used to taking flights that last anywhere from 2 to 6 hours, but did you know that the shortest flight in the world only lasts 57 seconds? A Logan Air flight between Scottish Islands Westray and Papua Westray only lasts 57 seconds and travels a distance of 1.7 miles. Like, bitch, I could run that. Another fun fact is one about elephants. Did you know not only do they hear out of their ears, but they can also hear out of their feet? Typically, to hear normal distances, elephants will open their ears like that and scan back and forth to hear. But to help them hear noises that are far away, they'll freeze, lean on their front legs, and that's how they hear. And lastly, we all know and love Pringles. Who doesn't love a good Pringle? The man responsible for creating the iconic Pringles can is named Frederick Bauer, but that's not the fun fact. The fun fact is that when he passed away, it was his dying wish that his remains be put in a Pringles can. His children honored the wish.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, like you said, everybody love Pringles. I think I got a Pringle jar right there. It's crazy. And how elephants get hit through their damn freaking legs? What the hell we learning today, Seekers? I mean, through their legs, yeah. Where's the sky, man? It is. Like I said, if y'all see any other Seekers, man, comment down below, because I might miss some, and we help each other out.
Scary things you never knew. The last one is crazy. If you knew your mom wasn't home, but you heard somebody at your door with her voice, would you answer?
Nope.
Do you want to know who your secret crush is? It's the second person you see when you click share and more. In 1991, Philip Lewis, who we know as Mr. Mosby on Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, took a woman's life while drunk driving. His blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit. But since Maryland didn't have strict laws on drunk driving yet, he only served about 1 prison year and some community service. No one can comment under this video and get 0 likes. If there is a comment with 0 likes, you are the chosen one. Before we get to the last scary thing, please support this page by clicking the follow button for more interesting posts every day. 2 cops were called to a graveyard to investigate noises when they heard this.
He said, hell no.
Yeah, comment below what you think that was.
One of the biggest
I don't know what that was shrieking.
2023 was that missing teen Alicia Navarro reappeared in Montana. Alicia was missing for almost 5 years after she left home one night in 2019. Her family and the community searched relentlessly for her for the last 4 years. But in July 2023, she reappeared, showing up at a police station in Montana and asking to be taken off the missing persons list. Here's an overview of her story. 14-year-old Alicia was a sweet young girl who loved to spend time in online gaming forums such as Minecraft and Discord. In 2019, she began acting a little bit differently than she always had. When she was younger, Alicia had been diagnosed with high-functioning autism, so for most of her life, she thrived from routine. But in 2019, this had recently changed. She was showing interest in new things, such as comic books, classic rock, and fitness products. She also began to express interest in things like body spray, makeup, and somewhat provocative clothing, and her mother, Jessica, assumed that these changes were the result of peer pressure at her high school. On September 14th, 2019, Alicia stayed home from school after having a particularly anxious day. She spent the day with her mother, and then that night, she stayed up late playing games online, which was normal for her. Sometime between 12 and 1 a.m., she went downstairs for a glass of water, told her mother that she loved her, then headed back to her room. Around 7 o'clock the next morning, Jessica went downstairs and found that the back door to their home was wide open. In the backyard, she found 2 chairs stacked up against each other, placed against the fence. And when she went to check on Alicia, she realized that she was gone. On Alicia's desk was a note that read, quote, "I ran away. I will be back, I swear. I'm sorry." Jessica immediately reported her daughter missing to police, and she knew that she was particularly vulnerable and was likely manipulated to sneak out. A silver alert was issued for Alicia, and the case gained national attention, but unfortunately, it led nowhere. While Alicia had taken several of her belongings, she also left behind things like chargers, indicating that she was planning to come back. There were sightings of Alicia, but she remained missing, and Jessica started to appeal to the public for help in finding her daughter. But Alicia was nowhere. 2023. In July, now 18, almost 19-year-old and asked for help getting off a missing juvenile police station. A neighbor of the house that she was living in heard her yelling with the man she lived with, but the neighbor only heard her say, "I will go back." It's been reported that Alicia wanted to get taken off that juvenile missing list so she could obtain a driver's license and start living a, quote, normal life. The man she was living with was questioned, but he was released with no charges. And authorities reported that by all accounts, Alicia seemed to be safe and that she had left willingly. Go to part 2.
Disturbing animal facts are going to make you look at the animal kingdom differently. Parents and teachers definitely wouldn't want me telling you any of these. So, listen the fuck up. A flatworms definitely look like the kind of creature that God was bored on the day he made them. However, there is some fucked up shit going on in the flatworm species. For starters, all flatworms are actually born male. Gotta be very careful in how I phrase this next part, otherwise Papa TikTok will be very mad at me. All flatworms, as they are born male, will fight with their lightsabers, in which the loser of the duel gets injected and their lightsaber falls off, making them a female, and that's how flatworm females are made. Next up, sperm whales are very majestic creatures. Oh, they're fucking not, and let me tell you why. They can actually vibrate you to the next world. They are so physically massive that their clicks are so loud that they can vibrate you or cause an air bubble in your brain, making you meet your maker very quickly. Geese, these blue-eyed devils are so strong that they can break your shins with their beaks. Dolphins are little shits. You know how you like going down to the lake and skipping some stones? Well, this complete menace enjoys that too. However, instead of using stones, they use fucking stingrays. That's right, when they're bored, they swim down, catch them, bring them to the surface, and skip them along like they're a rock. I'm holding back the laughter, but it's still wrong. Next up, we've got baby sloths. If a baby sloth falls off its mother's back and down onto the forest floor, sadly, more often than not, the mother can't spare the energy to go down and get it. Which, as you can imagine, doesn't necessarily end well for a baby sloth. And finally, we have pigeons. Now, I dislike these flying dodos as much as I dislike seagulls. However, I'm not kidding, they are capable mathematicians. I'll be honest, point out to myself, I fucking hated maths. But just like non-human primates, they are capable of learning abstract mathematical concepts. However, they're complete menaces to their own society as shown in this video. My point proven, they just threw one of their own into the next world. Elon!
Phase ADAP, he was on the pigeon theory, man. He was the first one.
Websites you should never visit. Part 2. Crime scene photos. Trigger warning, this website is extremely graphic and not for the faint of heart. It shows real live crime scene photos and then explains them in depth. The website is a bit much and not for everyone, so I would definitely take that with a grain of salt. Comment down below and tag a friend if I should do a part 3.
I don't think I want to visit that site. I don't need that in my mind.
Disturbing brain facts. 1. The brain will protect itself even if it means misery to you or death. If you're stuck in the middle of a cold place, your brain will fall asleep to conserve energy and never wake up again. Inhaling smoke in the middle of a burning house, your brain will make you stop breathing and pass out. 2. Your brain doesn't necessarily stop all activity the moment you are pronounced clinically dead. Up to 30 minutes of brain activity has been recorded after death. 3. Comment brain and I will DM you a brain hack you definitely have never heard about. 4. When you're falling asleep at night and your body jerks. This is called hypnic jerks. This happens because your brain thinks you're dying if your body falls asleep faster than your brain. 5. 90% of all illness and disease is stress related. 6. Certain brain injuries or conditions can lead to spontaneous and uncontrollable bursts of aggressive or violent behavior, even in individuals who were previously non-violent. 7. Your eyeballs are an extension of your brain and are directly connected to it.
Whoa. Those brain facts, man. Definitely write some of those down, bro. We're gonna need those.
Scariest things found underwater. From Atlantic Ocean. Stone people.
They from Atlantis?
Chuk Lagoon. WW to tank.
Damn.
From Little Traverse Bay. Jesus statue. From Lake Lanier. Underwater ghost town to 150 plus towns. From Lake Neuchatel. Shark statue. From Antarctica. Ningen.
What's that?
From Minnesota Lake. Jason Voorhees statue.
How
was Jason underwater?
Girl that vanished into thin air. Her name is Yuki Onishi. On April 29th of 2005, 5-year-old Yuki was out celebrating Greenery Day with her mother. It's a national holiday in Japan, and what they do is they go out, they celebrate nature, and they collect bamboo shoots. So Yuki, her mom, and 60 other people were out doing this. Yuki was so excited that she found her first bamboo shoot, she showed her mother, and then she ran off to find more. That's when she disappeared and was never seen from again. When they realized that she was nowhere to be found, they actually brought in search dogs and the police.
This is where it gets really strange. The dogs followed her scent to the middle of the forest and then just stopped. The scent stopped in the middle of the forest as if she had just disappeared into thin air from that spot. To this day, she has never been found and no one knows what happened. If you want to hear some theories, come back for part 2.
Deadliest disasters
That's
in
insane.
human history. Part 1. In 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart 73 seconds into its flight, killing all 7 crew members aboard. The astronauts actually lived through the initial explosion and survived for nearly 3 minutes before they died on impact with the water. In 1184, a group of nobles gathered in a room in the Church of St. Peter above the latrine pit of the monks. All of a sudden, the floor collapsed due to their combined weight, causing 60 nobles to fall to their death into a pool of poop and sewage. In 1893, gifts were being passed out at a magic show in Victoria Hall. Over 1,000 kids tried to force themselves down a narrow staircase that led to a single door that opened inward. Only one child at a time could pass through, causing 183 children to be crushed to death.
With some gifts, man. Even back then, bro, people were going crazy over gifts. About items, belongings, man. It just don't make sense. People gotta be more careful.
Facts, part 409. In November of '99, the girlfriend of Panthers wide receiver Ray Caruth was shot 4 times and later died in the hospital. It was soon determined that her NFL boyfriend had hired a hitman to kill her after she reportedly refused to abort their baby. The baby ended up surviving, and Caruth went to prison for 19 years before being released in 2018. During a tense pro basketball game in 1992, Serbian player Boban Jankovic was frustrated with a foul call and slammed his head into a padded concrete post. He immediately dropped to the floor and was never able to walk again after badly damaging his spinal cord. Earlier this year, 44-year-old Pennsylvania man John Matthew Chapman was sentenced to life in prison after driving his girlfriend across the country and luring her into a Nevada desert for a bondage photo shoot. He then bound her to a signpost with zip ties, taped her mouth and nose shut, and watched as she died.
Here's what would happen if every girl on Earth disappeared. So about 4 billion girls would be wiped out and the boys would be left to fend for themselves. And more than 70% of people in the medical field are actually females. So people would be dying left and right. Also, the entire school system would collapse. This is because most college students and professors are actually female. On top of that, 30 countries would lose their leaders and the world would fall into chaos. And then the boys would be left alone to go extinct.
Things humans weren't meant to
We need Morbid. That's simple. That's a very simple thought. What the hell? All this secret footage. Okay, that looks kind of edited right there. I can't lie to you right there.
Get me out of here! What do you want? Please, I don't want to be here anymore. Just let me out.
What the hell is that? Super secret footage.
Gruesome facts you didn't
Is that legit on an edit?
This is the sandbox tree, a tree doing everything in its power to kill you. If its deadly appearance isn't enough to keep you away, maybe learning that its small fruits, which look like little pumpkins, actually become time bombs when they fully mature. With a loud bang, they will fling their hardened seeds up to 150 miles per hour and over 60 feet.
Damn.
To further add to that, the fruits are also poisonous and the sap can cause blindness and a painful red rash. This is a nose tomb located in Kyoto, Japan, which is filled with Korean noses. Japanese samurai would collect trophies from those they killed during wartime. Now, traditionally, it was the entire enemy's head. But due to how cumbersome it would be to take that many severed heads, they went with noses instead. The noses would be pickled and sent back to Japan. This tomb contains an estimated 38,000 noses. In July of 2018, a tofu worker in Indonesia named Sugito was out collecting grass and vegetables for his cattle when he accidentally wandered into a licensed crocodile sanctuary. It wasn't long until he was attacked, and guards did hear his screams, but they couldn't save him. The next day, a mob of over 600 angry villagers stormed the sanctuary to take revenge. First destroying the office, then going after the reptiles. In total, they killed 292 crocodiles. After each crocodile was dead, it would be dragged and placed into a giant bloody pile, and then they would take selfies in front of it.
Morbid fat.
They slid, bro. They was not playing, man. That type of community like that, you can't find that. That's rare. Don't mess with people, bro. You don't know where they come from.
Part 408. American actor and model John Eric Hexum was once seen as the next big thing in Hollywood due to his charming looks, charisma, and radio voice. But in 1984, he died on the set of the TV show Cover Up after accidentally discharging a blank cartridge into his skull. Hexum had apparently been playing Russian roulette with a prop gun during a break in filming, and the muzzle blast caused enough blunt force trauma to fracture a piece of his skull that propelled into his brain. Serial killer Israel Keyes went the extra mile to ensure that he would never be detected. He had no preferred victim type and never killed in the same area twice. For one murder, he flew to Chicago and drove 1,000 miles all the way to Vermont in a rental car, and used a murder kit he'd hidden there 2 years prior. When shopping on his murder trips, he always kept his phone turned off and only ever paid in cash. But Keyes was caught in 2012 after using a victim's credit card when he didn't have any cash on hand.
Things
This
people
Jesus
do is to
statue
not
started
get caught.
leaking water, and everybody thought it was a miracle until they realized it wasn't. In 2012, when water started dripping down this Jesus Christ statue in an Indian church, everybody thought it was a miracle. Hundreds of people would gather there every single day just to get a drink of this water. They thought it would cure diseases and even send them to heaven. But this guy right here wasn't buying it. His name is Sanal, and he wanted to see it for himself. So he traveled across the world to see this statue and began his investigation. He searched the building next door where he found drain pipes that had bursted, and they were leaking everywhere. It turns out the water dripping down from the statue was actually sewage water. So the water people were collecting and drinking was literally poop. Sanal shared this information with everyone, but nobody wanted to hear it. Instead, he received threats, and the church even sentenced him to prison.
Let's talk about the Arcadia.
He was just trying to expose the truth.
Arcadia County,
Or tell the
Ohio,
truth.
A teen named Calvin Dim went missing on his way home from school. This was really unusual at the time because Calvin was actually a pretty well-accomplished athlete, and he was very tall for his age, so whoever did overtake him and abduct him was either a larger person or a group of people. So for like weeks this investigation goes cold until a VHS tape is mysteriously found at the doorstep of his parents' house. The VHS was compiled of various different clips of unknown people in different masks who were just staring into the camera. But there is one clip in this video that had the words Cal, short for Calvin, edited into the VHS. This was pretty definitive evidence for the police that whoever made this video either knew where Calvin was or they had him in their possession. Police would end up finding this frame, which showed a person in a black tarp, presumably with their wrists and ankles tied. Investigators believe this could be Calvin, and what's even eerier is they think this was shot in the woods behind his house.
What? People are sick, man. Just like torments their family like that. Send a VHS tape to them so they can see that.
This is the creepy story about the school trip. An entire class of 6th graders went on a school trip. Everyone was taking pictures with phones and cameras. When they returned back to school, everyone was looking through the photos when the one girl said, "Oh my god, what is that?" Everybody ran over to look at it. In the picture, one of the boys in the class was sitting on the bus. Nothing seemed strange about the photo until you looked very closely at his reflection in the window. His face in the reflection looked like it was yellow and bulging, bubbling and mutating, and there appeared to be a strange floating white thing beside him. When everyone turned the picture upside down, they realized it was a skull, and it was horrific. When the boy saw the photo of himself, he burst into tears and immediately had a panic attack. The teacher had to send the boy to the nurse, and the principal banned everybody from ever speaking about the strange photo again. 7 days later, the boy in the photo died from a brain tumor.
So what the hell was that? Like a sign or something, man? He said he saw a skull on him, bro. And they was all taking pictures, man. So that had to have been a sign, right? That's crazy how they caught that on camera. 7 days later, man. When you taking pictures, bro, it tells a story. I learned that watching these videos together with you guys.
Here's 5 things you won't believe you can buy off the dark web. The last one could have saved me a ton of money. Number 1 is fake passports for any country in the world. Now this is very dangerous because a lot of terrorists use this. Number 2 is a hitman. You can hire a contract killer to get the job done for you for approximately $5,000. Number 3 is credit card numbers. And since you can never know that an individual credit card has been canceled, these identity thieves sell them in batches of 100. Number 4 is a lifetime Netflix account for just $1. This account is paid for using stolen credit cards. Finally, at number 5, a fake college degree from the college of your choice.
People getting fake degrees out here? You gotta check everything.
Humans were never meant to see. If you didn't know, this is what a snail drinking water looks like. It's actually super rare, and the fact we were able to capture it on camera is incredible. But what's more incredible is this octopus dreaming. And the reason why it's changing colors so much is because it's dreaming about different environments. So it's trying to blend in all of them.
Whoa, what the hell? Octopus can dreams? Yeah, I never do that. And that shot of the snail looks like a freaking, like a bullet went off, bro. It's like that quick. Hey man, nature. I learn new things every single day watching these videos together with you guys, so I'm always grateful for that. Whew.
Now I love dinosaurs as much as the next guy, but I think it's pretty safe to say there ain't no way in fuck I'm taking part in this shit. Cause here are some of the scariest extinct animals you'll be glad took the L. First up, we got the Therizinosaurus, a literal Freddy Krueger of a dinosaur. If you don't believe me, what the fuck is that? They had 3 feet long claws. Now scientists say that they're most likely herbivores, but I'm sorry, evolution, what the fuck? Why have you given a herbivore 3 foot long claws to tear down the little plants? Meanwhile, you've given the T-Rex, the daddy meat-eating carnivore, little fucking Tootsie Rolls for arms. The me no comprende. Next up, we got the Meganeura. Now, I'm really not a fan of dragonflies nowadays, so a flying cocky fucker with a wingspan of 75 centimeters that resembles a dragonfly can fuck off. And finally, we got sea scorpions. Now, they're on the list purely for their size. I mean, what? They had a length of 8 feet and 3 inches, and when their claws were actually fully extended, that could add another 3 feet to their length. You know, just an 11.5 foot scorpion. We chillin'. Now, I don't mind scorpion. If this was a spider, nah!
Yeah, we ain't doing... I know we all do spider seekers. That's a no. Man, so scorpion was that big back in the day? Like you said, we glad they took the L, bro.
This is Perfection, one of the worst videos on the dark web you should never go looking for, explained. Okay, so Perfection is a dark web video nobody should go looking for or even want to see. The video shows a woman peeling her nose and entire face off with a potato peeler, with literally zero expression or pain on her face throughout the entire time doing it. After she completely peeled off her face and nose, her jaw was just hanging down because there was no support from the cheeks anymore. There is a story about 3 friends who watched the entire Perfection video and 2 of them ended up dying. Many reports say that while watching the Perfection video, it somehow hypnotizes you and you end up doing what the girl did to herself and dying. But luckily for all of us, this video is literally impossible to find. It's extremely hard to find on the dark web, which means it's virtually impossible to find it on the normal web.
Good.
This is honestly a video I would even stay curious on, because it comes from the dark web for starters, and it's extremely and utterly awful. Nobody knows who the girl is or why she's doing this to herself, and nobody knows who even made it. But the stories surrounding the video saying people get hypnotized and end up peeling their own face off and dying make it 100 times more scary, and should make you not want to watch it or even look for it. Perfection is regarded as one of the most unsettling and disturbing videos on the internet, and the mysterious origin and story of it make it truly an internet mystery.
Let's talk about a terrifying moment from the scariest game I have ever played.
Lost in Vivo. In Lost in Vivo, your dog Danny has ventured into the sewer, and it's our job to save him. Danny is our best friend. We can't let him get hurt. The sewer goes deeper and deeper, evolving into all sorts of random locations. We push on to find Danny, fighting through unspeakable horrors while we do so. Eventually, we make our way to a mining area. And look, there's Danny. He even comes when we whistle. But wait a minute. Why does he look a little off? Why does he sound like that? All of a sudden, Danny's body begins to open up. This is not your dog, and you need to run because it can smell your fear.
What type of game is that, bro? Dog looks the final boss?
If your immune system ever found out that you have eyeballs, you would go blind. Which means right now, your immune system has no clue that you can see. Because if they did, they would attack your eyeballs until you can no longer ever see. This is because your eyeballs have a protein in them called crystalline that doesn't exist anywhere else in your body. So if your immune system found out and checked them out, it would be like, something's wrong here. Studies show that most serial killers are born in November. Today's high school students have the same anxiety levels as insane asylum patients had in the 1950s. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, my anxiety might be up there too. There's a disease called fatal familial insomnia, where people suddenly one day lose their ability to fall asleep, which leads them to slowly go insane. They can't distinguish dreams from reality anymore, and go into some type of paranoia. It becomes so severe that they eventually die. Those that make it to the final stage and don't die usually end up in a vegetated state, no longer conscious. And it can happen to any one of you. About 3,000 people go missing every year in the United States. The last execution by guillotine was in 1977. This was in France. And also that was the same year the first Star Wars movie came out. You are always 6 minutes away from death, but breathing resets the clock. In 2011, Anatoly Yakovlevich was arrested for having 12 dolls in his apartment. Only problem is, they weren't normal dolls. They were recently deceased little girls that had been dug up and dressed to be put on display. In 2012, a Burger King employee anonymously posted this to 4chan. It said, "This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King." It only took 20 minutes for people to track down the branch that he worked at, and he was fired. You really never know what people are doing to your food. H.H. Holmes was a serial killer who built a torture hotel in the 19th century. He had secret rooms with gas chambers, trap doors, and stairs that led to nowhere. He loved to play with his victims' minds. It was almost like a real-life Saw movie. There's a bridge in Scotland called the Overtoun Bridge, and for some reason, dogs keep jumping off of it at the same spot. Yeah, they just jump to their deaths. Experts can't figure out why either. Some people speculate it's a magnetic field, or maybe a frequency that only they can hear, but others believe it's something supernatural. But whatever is making dogs jump off that bridge to their deaths is still to this day unexplained. JonBenét was an infamous serial killer who not only cooked his victims to eat for himself, but also made them into burgers, using their remains. He then sold them to unsuspecting customers from a roadside food stand. We really never know what he is. I'm cooking all my food myself, because why don't we eat over people's house? In 2021, a new homeowner was shocked to find a boarded up wall. When he ripped the boards off the wall, he discovered a hole. In that hole was a doll clutching a note. The note saying that she killed a family who lived there in the 1960s. Be honest, would you move out? In 1978, there was a pilot named Frederick Valentin. Him and his plane disappeared in Australia. His last communication was, "Melbourne, that strange aircraft is hovering above me again." It is hovering, and it is not an aircraft. This is a mugshot of William West and William West. Oh, and they're not related at all. But they were both sent to Leavenworth Prison at the exact same time in 1903. And after some confusion, the staff finally figured it out. They were two different people who had the exact same name and looked identical. This was said to be one of the main reasons why we now use fingerprints to identify somebody. There's biotech being developed as we speak that can make prisoners feel they are serving an 1,000-year sentence in a matter of 8 hours. That's horrifying. Imagine thinking you spent 1,000 years somewhere, and then when you wake up and snap out of it, you realize that it was only a couple hours. Do you know how crazy it is?
Aware. When Jim Carrey played the Grinch, he said he had to sit through 8 hours of painful makeup sessions every day. He said putting on the makeup felt like he was being buried alive. The suit was so itchy and painful that after the first day of filming, he kicked a hole through the wall and was going to quit the movie. So Jim Carrey hired a CIA expert who trained him on how to deal with torture. Buddy Ebsen played the original Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz. However, you never actually see him in the movie. This is because the original Tin Man outfit and makeup contained real aluminum, which is extremely toxic. This caused Buddy to be rushed to the hospital where he almost died.
Oh. Those actors, man. Those prosthetics.
Top 5 countries with the longest school days.
Australia 6.5 hours. France 8 hours. South Korea 8 hours. Kenya 8 hours. China 9.5 hours.
Here's why you should stop rubbing your eyes.
That was no joke. You seriously need to stop rubbing your eyes as much, and here's why. Trust me, you might want to favorite this video because you might need this as a reminder in the future. Let's be honest, we're all guilty of this at some point. But I bet you didn't know that continually rubbing your eyes can actually cause really bad damage to your cornea. In fact, it can thin out your cornea, causing it to bulge. I mean, let's go back to the MRI footage. This is someone rubbing their eye. Visibly being able to see the pressure it puts on your eye, and the way that the eye can actually change shape, increasing the pressure on your eye by 20 times. And it gets worse if you rub your eyes with your knuckles or the back of your hands. So although the occasional rub probably won't do you any harm, consistently doing it and consistently doing it hard could lead to potential vision loss. So saying this to literally anyone you know, because for their eyes' sake, they need to see this. Elon!
This woman who recently competed in the Olympics in Paris was just murdered. This is 27-year-old Rebecca Cheptegei, and she was a marathon runner in Uganda. Rebecca competed in the women's marathon in the Olympics, and she finished in 44th place. Not long after returning from Paris, on August 31st, she was set on fire by her boyfriend. They identified this man as Dixon Edema, and apparently they were arguing over a piece of land. The attack happened outside of Rebecca's house, and it was said that her daughter tried to help her and save her, but this man had kicked her and also tried to beat her as well. It was said that Rebecca was found by neighbors who heard the arguing, and they were the ones who put out the fire. These burns were so severe it covered 80% of her body, and that's why she did not survive. But her boyfriend was also burned, but it only covered about 30% of his body, and he is now in stable condition. This is so sad, and violence towards women in Uganda is very common. There's actually been a few athletes who have been murdered by their partners in the last few years.
Maps that will...
That needs to change, man. She was literally in the Olympics, and then her whole freaking life trajectory changed, man. Justice for her.
Change the way you see the world. This is a unique visual that shows what the Roman Empire citizens believed was the entire world. This is what Chile looks like stretched across all of Europe. This is what all the uninhabited land in the United States looks like. This map shows the largest employer in each US state. These are the average train speeds across Europe. This map shows the distribution of ticks that are infected with Lyme disease across the United States. This map shows in the United States how many people commit violent crimes per 100,000 residents. This is a topographic map of Europe. This map shows the percentage of population in each Europe country that has never used the internet before. This map is comparing the populations of cities in Greece and Turkey, with each little square representing about 250,000 people. This map shows the most popular streaming services across all the countries in Europe. Can you guess where this puzzle piece is from? You're able to guess what country this is just by the shape.
If you haven't heard about this,
I couldn't get those last two. Could you?
Police across the world are warning people of this literally as we speak, and you would never even realise you've been scammed until this. But there is a new scam which only takes one person to do it in one simple move. And what it does is allow hackers to get into your phone, get access to all your personal information, cards, any single thing you own. So how this works is you'll get a package outside your door, like you would from a brand. It could be Amazon, it could be Pretty Little Thing, anything that you're buying.
Okay.
It could be from a company that you buy stuff from regularly, so you just think, oh, I'm a loyal customer, give me a free gift. You open it up, there could be something inside. It might be a t-shirt, it might be a hoodie, it might be some shoes, whatever. Then there'll be a QR code in there that says, thanks for your loyalty, please scan here. Obviously you're going to scan it. Why wouldn't you? Well, if you scan this QR code, that's where this happens. They will then be able to get into your phone from scanning that link. You literally would not be able to tell that this has happened to you until you see the money going out of your account or something like that. So yeah, if you don't order a parcel, just be wary if there's a QR code in there that it's telling you to scan. Do your research, please, because it could save you a lot of money. Now, of course, please share this video around with anybody you know, friends and family, because I know some of the older generation would scan it in an instant. And I will keep you updated.
China has just had to urgently...
Nothing is left for free.
400,000 people after they were hit by one of the most powerful super typhoons in over a decade. And for perspective, a super typhoon is equivalent to that of a Category 5 hurricane. All schools in the area that made landfall were shut, trains, boats, and flights were suspended, and all tourist attractions have been closed down. The winds near its center helicopter reached a staggering 145 miles per hour. And this
Damn.
has doubled in strength after it killed more than 16 people in the Philippines last week. It's now predicted to move along and hit Vietnam this weekend.
Uncommon human traits. Being able to move one eyebrow, 25% of people. Growing a full beard, 1 in 5 men. Having dimples, 1 in 5 people. Going bald, 1 in 8 men. Having an outy belly button, 1 in 10 people. Being left-handed, 1 in 10 people. Having curly hair, 1 in 10 people. Having blue eyes, 1 in 10 people. Having green eyes, 1 in 50 people.
That's very rare. Green eyes, 1 in 50, man. That just shows you the rarity. I see blue eyes often, but never green eyes, man. It's very rare if I see somebody with green eyes.
Did you know these facts? The Boeing factory is so large they had to install a one-of-a-kind air circulation system to stop clouds from forming inside of the building. This is the world's smallest drawbridge in Bermuda. The US Navy is known to have used Xbox controllers to control the periscopes on submarines. James Cameron was homeless when he wrote The Terminator. He sold the rights for $1 on the condition that he was the one to direct the movie. A race was held in 1888 between a pigeon and a bee for 3 miles, where the bee won by 25 seconds. Camels have 3 eyelids that helps protect their eyes from the blowing sand. Cherries are dried with helicopters. It would take you 18 months to walk the Great Wall of China. The USA speaks more than 350 different languages. Scientists are out there making arguments that we may have more than 5 senses, one of them being magnetoreception, which is the ability to sense magnetic fields, and the other is chronoception, which is the ability to sense time passing.
You won't believe what this man saw during the 2024 solar eclipse. Reddit user Blakester731 said that him and a couple of friends went to watch the solar eclipse at a fishing spot out in the backwater in Tennessee. It was a secluded area that also hosts a small Trail of Tears memorial. They passed the stone monument on their way to go fishing, which acknowledged the removal of the Cherokee from their native land and the tragedies that occurred there. He said that him and his friends gave it their private respects and moved along to the fishing spot. Time passed like any other day out fishing, and they were having a good time. Towards the afternoon, the dark shape of the moon started to move closer to the sun. The woods all of a sudden became very quiet. The sounds of birds, flies, and cicadas all seemingly disappeared. Then the eclipse started, and the world got darker around them. Colors and weird shadows split across the ground. Reddit user Blakester731 said that he was switching from his light-resistant glasses to the landscape around him. He looked towards the trees, and then finally, the moon was full and only the sun's halo showed behind it. He took the glasses off to see it more clearly, and then he says, they were there. He said that they were like reflections and shadows standing around them. There were tall, dark human shapes surrounding them. There were hundreds of them in the woods, behind the trees, and on the shoreline. He screamed and fell out of his chair. His friends then took their glasses off and shot out of their chairs too. They all grouped together and started moving towards their truck. But just as the moon moved off the sun, the shadow figures vanished. The whole thing had lasted less than 3 minutes, but they got out of there as fast as they could.
Gruesome facts.
Hey man, people, they saying they saw different stuff during the solar eclipse, man. That didn't happen like a while ago, like a couple of months ago if I'm not mistaken. So, Seekers, where were you guys at, man, when that solar eclipse happened? I was outside just trying to look up at it with the glasses, making sure nothing weird was going on, but everybody has a different story.
You didn't know, part 219. This is the last video taken of Steven Weber, who proposed to his girlfriend underwater. While on a trip in Tanzania, the couple were staying in a submerged room. Steven swam underwater to the outside of the room with a note and a ring. The front of the note read, "I can't hold my breath long enough to tell you everything I love about you. But everything I love about you, I love more every day." When he turned the note over, it read, "Will you please be my wife? Marry me?" He then produced a ring from his pocket before swimming out of frame. Tragically, he never made it to the surface and drowned. The Mark Jackson basketball card from 1990 has 2 unique guests featured in the background. The Menendez brothers can be seen sitting courtside after murdering their parents and prior to their arrest. When the SS Daniel J. Morrell began to sink on Lake Huron in 1966, the crew believed they were just moments from being rescued when they spotted lights that they believed was from another boat. To their horror, they discovered that the lights were actually from the severed stern of their own ship. It was barreling towards them under the power of the ship's engine.
Alright, so these are the insects that's usually on your strawberries.
Come again?
So far we got some mites. And it's pretty normal if you want fresh organic vegetables and fruits, they're gonna have bugs on them. Let's see how much are when you rinse them or wash them off. Ooh, looks like just rinsing them for a few seconds got rid of a lot of the insects. Now I will say, even though you wash them off on the outside, there's still the inside, which I'm sure contains plenty of insects because they burrow themselves in. So even when you wash your fruit and veggies, just know there might be insects inside the fruits and veggies as well, which is a good source of protein, I guess, right?
We are now...
Come again, man? Hey, man, we gotta be washing our foods, man, checking it out. Double checking, man. Then we gotta check the insides too, man. Seekers, man. Got insects on the food. You gotta be careful, man. Make sure we're not eating no insects, bro.
Learning that Colt Gray, the 14-year-old shooter, was relentlessly bullied at school for being gay. And the reason we even know this information is crazier. So, in May last year, the FBI received a tip that Colt made a threat on Discord to shoot up a middle school. So, naturally, police turned up at his house and questioned Colin, his father. He told police that Colt was being picked on every day and his classmates would call him gay. He revealed that the bullying got so bad that Colt wanted to move out of the school district. Now, when police told him what his son said on Discord, he reassured officers, saying that he would be mad as hell if he found out that it was true and that all guns would go away. Now, despite this, that Christmas, Colin gave Colt an AR-15, which he would then use 9 months later to do the very thing that he threatened over a year ago. And that is why the father is now facing 180 years behind bars.
No worries needed, Seekers.
If you die in this VR game, you die in real life. Yes, this video is not fake. This is genuinely something that was just invented, and you won't believe who by. And it's not as crazy a person as you might think, which kinda makes it even more terrifying. It is almost unbelievable the world's first VR headset that literally kills you if you die in the game has just been created. And just quickly, TikTok are now showing you your lookalike on the app. Just tap share copy more, and if you've got one, it will come up. The man who invented it, Palmer Luckey, is a leader in VR, a government contractor, and the creator of Meta's Oculus headset. So this is the real deal. The headset is hooked up to 3 explosive charge modules that sit above the screen. The charges are aimed directly at the user's forebrain, and should they go off, would obliterate the head of the user. He said he created it because only the threat of serious consequences can make the game feel real to you and every other person in the game. He even says that he wants to work on an anti-tampering model that cannot be removed or destroyed. So if you decide to put it on, there is no going back. Thankfully, this headset is not commercially available yet. Would you play this with any of your friends?
Did you know these?
Hell no, man. They trying to freaking, saying this VR stuff, man, they trying to make it too weird, bro. Virtual reality is only supposed to be real up until a point. But now, like you said, he wants to make one where can try like lock you in, you can't even take it off your head. Don't buy that VR set, Seekers.
These facts. Jesse Pinkman and Walter Jr. were never in an episode of Breaking Bad. Amelia Earhart had a co-pilot when she went missing. Bill Withers wrote the song Ain't No Sunshine while he worked for a factory that built airplane toilet seats. A bear was the first living being to survive a supersonic ejection. Dr. Phil lost his psychology license in 2006, and all guests on his show have to sign a contract that says that they are getting advice from an individual and not a psychologist. Gaming tournaments are now adding clauses to allow judges to penalize players for dirty clothing or terrible odor as much as giving them a full loss. Berlin has still not recovered from its pre-World War II population count. A school principal made a student that was in trouble sit in the basement and read the U.S. Constitution. That student was Thurgood Marshall. He memorized the entire Constitution and became the first ever black Supreme Court justice.
Here's some Disney Channel stars that went to jail, but each time the crime gets worse. Starting off, Mitchell Musso, who played Oliver Oaken in Hannah Montana, was pulled over in 2011 for driving under the influence. He was only 20 at the time and was arrested and released on bail. Because of this, his character was written out of Pair of Kings and his show Prank Stars was canceled. Next up, Adam Hicks, who played Luther on Zeke and Luther and had a starring role in Lemonade Mouth, was arrested a couple times, but most recently for an armed robbery with his girlfriend. His sentencing was delayed multiple times due to mental health evaluations and was eventually given a 5-year sentence. But he's now currently on parole and making music on TikTok. Moving on, Lindsay Lohan was Disney's golden child in the early 2000s, starring in iconic movies such as The Parent Trap, Freaky Friday, and Mean Girls, before getting into trouble with the law. She's been arrested for driving under the influence, drug possession, violating her probation, a theft charge, and has even had a bench warrant out for her arrest. And finally, Phil Lewis, who played Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, was arrested and charged for vehicle manslaughter after killing a 21-year-old girl while drunk driving. When they tested his blood alcohol, it was 3 times the legal limit. He was originally given a 5-year sentence, 2 years of probation, and 350 hours of community service, but ended up only serving 1 year due to his work with prison-based theater groups that performed in jails, churches, and schools to highlight the consequences of drug abuse.
That's our childhood, bro. Exposed, man.
Like pandas, right? They'll usually have twins, but since they don't have the facilities to take care of more than one, let's just say Zach might be fine, but Cody getting canceled. Mary Kay might be okay, but Ashley ain't. And that's assuming Big Mama don't roll in her sleep and flatline her first choice. So what Zoos will do is they'll have twins running shifts with the mom. That way both couples have a chance at life. Whole time the desaturated deadbeat is convinced she only had one. Here are some other horrible mothers of nature. The harp seal, because she's actually a good mother. For like 2 weeks, then she leaves the kid on ice even though it won't be able to swim or really do anything for itself for the next 6 weeks. Posting your child to chase more seal peel is negligent. Doing it in God's icebox is outrageous. And pulling down a polar bear country is just diabolical. The scorpion, because she literally carries her entire family on her back to protect them from predators. Pretty fucking ironic, because if there is enough food around, she'll take some of the brood off her back and have herself a kid's meal. This guy, and I think you know why, because marsupials like quokkas, wallabies, and kangaroos will evict their child out the pouch as a last resort against predators. Logically, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Morally, it puts you in the class of Casey Anthony. This welfare fraud with wings. Not only do they con other birds into raising children they have no parts in, it is scientifically documented that cuckoos will use mob violence to force them to do it. So to be fair, the first thing the cuckoo chick does is yeet every foster sibling out the nest. And when you're born that much of a cockwife, there isn't much hope for your future, the more you know.
During World War II,
well, you know, he said it.
They wanted to take back Ramree Island from the Japanese. So on January 21st, 1945, British and Indian infantry stormed the beaches of Ramree to try to take it back. As soon as they land, they have all this naval artillery support just bombing the crap out of this airbase. But the Japanese do not want to surrender, and instead they give up the airbase that they were on, so the British take that back, and the remaining 1,000 Japanese soldiers started retreating to the opposite end of the island. But the only issue with this particular retreat was they would have to go through 10 miles of mangrove swamp. So that night, as the British are just kind of hanging out in their boats staring at the swamp, they start hearing screams coming from inside of this swamp. It's Japanese soldiers. Then you hear gunfire, and then silence. And the British are watching this like, do we have troops in there? What's going on in there? What was going on in there is defined by the Guinness Book of World Records as the largest massacre of humans caused by animals. And not just any animal, saltwater crocodiles. Saltwater crocodiles are notorious night hunters. So what probably happened is the Japanese got inside of this mangrove. The crocodiles were immediately aware of their presence, but they waited until nighttime before they started having a feeding frenzy. And at the end of their retreat, when the Japanese did get to the other side of this swamp, only 500 of the 1,000 made it out the other side. And so to this day, people stay far away from Ramree Island because there are so many of these man-eating saltwater crocodiles that have no issue ripping you to shreds.
Whew. Dark time of history. Never knew that, man. Watching these clips always expands my knowledge base.
Is it actually dangerous to tickle a stingray? Tickling a stingray, as depicted in a viral video where a man appears to make a stingray laugh, might seem like a harmless and amusing interaction. However, experts caution against such actions for several reasons. And just quickly, check if you've got any free TikTok tokens to claim. Tap share, copy, then more, and you'll see if you have any. Primarily concerning the safety and well-being of the animal. Stingrays, like many aquatic creatures, are not accustomed to being handled by humans, especially in ways that are unnatural to them, such as tickling. These animals are adapted to life in water, where they have evolved specific behaviors and responses to their environment. Interactions like tickling can be stressful and potentially harmful to stingrays. They may not have the same sensory responses as mammals, and what appears as laughter or enjoyment is likely a misinterpretation of their natural reaction to an unusual stimulus. Furthermore, stingrays have defense mechanisms, including the well-known sting in their tail, which they use when they feel threatened or stressed. Attempting to tickle or otherwise interact closely with a stingray can provoke this defensive response, posing a risk of injury to the person involved. From an ethical standpoint, respecting wildlife and maintaining a safe distance is crucial for the conservation and well-being of these animals.
Top 3 creepy last words
tickle a stingray.
said right before dying.
Simple.
A nurse who wants to remain anonymous said that she had a sweet patient named Ella who started to lose herself to dementia. She started talking to herself. Most of the time it was playful. She would laugh to herself. One day, the nurse walked into her room and she was in a complete panic. She had her blanket pulled up to her chin and she was completely pale. The nurse went to her bedside to ask her what was wrong, and she said, "There is a woman in black looking in my window, and I am just petrified of her smile." The nurse said that it shook her hard. Reddit user Simple Simon 6262 said that when he was a student, he got called in on a stroke patient. She had coded and they were doing CPR. They worked for 45 minutes. But she died. They cleaned her up and called on her family to say goodbye. By the time her family left, she had been both brain dead and without a pulse for over 45 minutes. He said that blood had filled her brain and she was completely gray and had started to smell. Suddenly, she sat up and called for her family. The nurses rushed to get equipment and monitors back on her. She stabilized, said goodbye to her family, and promptly died a second time. Reddit user AJH1717 said that he works in a cardiovascular surgical ICU. He said that they had a stretch of nights where each corner room of their unit reported seeing a black cat walking around. Not a friendly cat either, apparently. The thing was hissing at them. The accounts were so similar to each other that they probably spent half an hour looking for the cat. Then they had security look as well. No cat was ever seen or found. 2 of those 4 patients coded the next day.
Have scientists just proven that we actually live in a simulation? I cannot believe what I'm about to tell you. Trust me, you're going to want to favorite this video because this could actually change the world.
Break it down for us.
Essentially, the new laws of physics support the concept that we are living in a computer simulation. Now please, stay with me. This is all being researched by a man named Melvin Vopson. A name which after this video you're probably going to want to bring up in your next therapy appointment. Claiming that we are all characters in an advanced virtual world. He claims that the physical behavior of information in our universe resembles the process of a computer deleting and compressing code. Now do you want to know what that means? So do fucking I. However, it's his next quote specifically that makes me go, "Wah!" Clue that perhaps the machines hope we don't notice. You're right, Melvin, mate. These are some bold claims that we are absolutely living in a computer simulation. Bold enough claims to give Matthew nightmares. There is so much more on this, including the fact that he believes symmetry in our world is the clue to everything, saying that all biological life presents some form of symmetry. As well, solids and crystals also have symmetry, because apparently symmetry is the best way of optimizing and rendering a digitally constructed world. That's why we have symmetries everywhere rather than asymmetries. I'm way too deep down this rabbit hole. What do you think, computer simulation or real life?
See, because what do you guys think, man? We in a simulation? You guys know what my background is, so. Is it true, man? We in the Matrix, bro? We just don't know it yet? We gotta wake up, bro. Rage Against the Machine, man. I'm definitely gonna have to check up that, man. Sounds like a deep rabbit hole, bro. Sounds worth it, though.
This whole Smart Schoolboy 9 situation just got far crazier. I cannot believe I'm actually saying this. So I'm sure you're all very aware of this whole Smart Schoolboy 9 situation. It's going crazy on social media right now. Since this whole thing came out, it's finally been revealed what his face actually looks like without the makeup and weird clothes on. And yeah, it is just like, this guy's a full-on 59-year-old man. What is bro doing? There he is. Still fully dressed up. Now, since this whole thing broke, there has been many people coming forward saying about their interactions with him. Apparently, he even has links to the guy who made salad fingers, so that explains it. We know his name appeared in this news article about school uniforms and how they're good, but many people claiming they've seen him out and about dressed like this, chasing them. Apparently, he's had multiple run-ins with the authorities who have raided his house before and found very bad things. But these are all just allegations, so no one knows for sure. But what we do know is that some of the videos are real, and I wish I could put them here, but I can't because they'll just get taken down. Videos of this guy doing some truly disturbing things and full-on chasing people. As I say, I can't post it here, but link in my bio to my full YouTube video if you want to go and watch that. But yeah, there is so many new things coming out about this guy. Apparently he's being looked into by the authorities right now, but who knows. But yeah, any more disturbing stuff I literally can't post here will be on my YouTube. But hit that follow button here, and I'll keep you updated with any new things that come out here.
Gruesome facts.
I seen that, man. That Smart Bro School 9 videos be trending everywhere on TikTok, YouTube. That's just everywhere, man. That just sounds like a freaking creepy case. I could check out a video, I guess, on YouTube if you guys seek it, if you want me to do that.
You didn't know, R225. In 1559, King Henry II of France was participating in a jousting tournament. During a match, he was severely wounded in the eye and brain by a splintered lance. He died of his injuries 10 days later, with his death leading to the decline of jousting as a sport in France. Actress and Playboy centerfold Yvette Vickers was last seen in 2010 after withdrawing from her family and friends. When neighbor Susan Savage noticed cobwebs on the mailbox, she went inside to investigate. Upstairs, she discovered her mummified body. Lieutenant Colonel William Henry Rankin is one of only 2 known persons to survive falling from the top of a cumulonimbus thunderstorm cloud. He was forced to eject from his jet when his engine failed. It took him 40 minutes to finally reach the ground. During his descent, he suffered from frostbite, and severe decompression caused his mouth, eyes, ears, and nose to bleed.
40 minutes just free falling on top of the cloud.
What you just saw is the United States Coast Guard raiding a high-speed submarine in the Eastern Pacific Ocean, moving more than 17,000 pounds of cocaine. On June 18th, 2019, a Coast Guard surveillance aircraft tracked and intercepted the drug-filled narco sub hundreds of miles off the Colombian-Ecuadorian coastline. The video shows a member of the Coast Guard riding on top of the speeding submarine. He then starts pounding on the hatch and demanding it to come to a stop. 3 other Coast Guard members then jump ship and board the 40-foot-long submarine. The video then continues, and you see the presumed trafficker emerging from the submarine hatch with his hands up, surrender. And in total, 5 alleged smugglers were seized on board the vessel and were handed over for prosecution by the United States Drug Enforcement Administration.
Are these your friends, the police?
Now, just watch the full encounter unfold. It's honestly something straight out of a video game.
Okay. What's he yelling?
That's gonna be hard to get on.
I'm trying to say what the hell is he saying? This is something like out of a video game, out of a movie. Y'all just jumped on it. Whew. Have the freaking banners being on top of that too.
Is to make sure that these criminals survive long enough to have that justice served.
Terrified they. Then yesterday they released the popcorn bucket, man, for these movie theaters and they popcorn buckets. Crazy. Mito? Seekers. If you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're true seekers seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support. Make sure you guys comment down below. Hit that thumbs up button. Follow me on all my social medias. You guys are going to catch me in the next video. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.